Xinjie wonders what young lord has thought of? Wu Xinjie smiled, not a bit surprised that Su Xing had guessed it. Su Xing then exhorted the girls to go to each of the palaces, to illuminate each of the longevity lanterns in accordance with the 9 halls diagram. What Su Xing was doing presently actually was not any different. In fact, things pertaining to solving the riddle of the Bright Moon Longevity Palace were always very numerous. After all, any cultivator would be interested in the widely circulated legends of the longevity cultivation method. As long as the Bright Moon Longevity Palace had the slightest hint of activity, this would attract the attention of everyone. The Bright Moon Longevity Palace's most distinguishing characteristic was the 9 Longevity Palace lanterns. The 9 halls diagram's pattern acting as the principle for the method was not at all untested. There was even one generation of star duels that had 9 star masters dispatch their star generals to illuminate the lanterns at the same time, but there was nothing to be done. Over time, the Bright Moon Longevity Palace's puzzle fizzled out, and not a single person had any more interest in it. This was the reality of it all. The prestige it had accumulated over several thousand years had already made the star cultivators shrink back. Hearing that Su Xing had solved this 1,000-year puzzle, they were still quite in disbelief. The longevity lanterns were ignited. In accordance with Su Xing's words, each of the palaces glowed with several identical starlights at the same time. Upon careful inspection, they were arranged according in the manner of the 9 halls. However, it was the same as before without any changes at all. Xinjie, tell me about the previous solutions for the Bright Moon Longevity Palace regarding the 9 palace lanterns. Su Xing said. Wu Xinjie compliantly told him. Hua Wanyue's eyebrows rose, and she oddly said, does he actually believe he can surpass the knowledge stars seeing clearly? So what? Su Xing hasn't cracked a puzzle just once or twice. Sister Xinjie adores him very much for this. I heard he uses some psychology thing. I don't understand it, but in short, it's super amazing. Shi Yuan patted her chest, proudly guaranteeing. Hunyangzi and Zhang Yuqi both had only been added later on. How could they have known that Su Xing had even this type of fighting success? Hearing this sort of matter, they were quite interested. A while later, Su Xing nodded. He was secretly impressed that Liangshan continent was formidable, as expected. The methods to solve the 9 palaces were increasingly numerous. What could be thought of, what could not be thought of had all been thought of, however, they were unlike what he thought. This Bright Moon Longevity Palace's puzzle indeed exploited a very obvious psychology to fool everyone. Teng, come out and let Papa hug you. Su Xing tenderly said all of a sudden. All of the girls were perplexed, not understanding why Su Xing would suddenly want to hug Tangting. Because Rat Star by Yutong did not have any martial force at all, she always stayed in the star nest. White light flashed. The little loli closed her big eyes as she drilled her face into Su Xing's chest. Su Xing hugged Tangtang, and his right hand struck a 9 palace array hand seal. Just at this moment, something inconceivable happened. The starlights floating above the 9 halls suddenly shot out a beam of light, intertwining with each other to form a net. The valley rumbled, the earth quaked, the mountains shook, and the moonlight magnified. The 9 palaces seemed to merge into one, like an illusion, unbelievable. Impossible! Hua Wanyue looked blankly at Su Xing, her heart shaken. Did this man truly come from Star World? The nondescript 9 palaces actually exhibited an abnormality by his hand. Wu Xinjie and the other girls were in amazement. How did young lord do it? Using the process of elimination simplified everything. Eliminate all possibilities, and the last remaining ones mostly are the results you want. Su Xing shrugged. Only then did the girls understand why Su Xing had Wu Xinjie inform him of every other solution to the 9 palaces. As it turned out, this was merely to dismiss all other possibilities, but just how did Milord do it, to make the Bright Moon Longevity Palace show this change? Shiyu could not understand. Other than hugging Tangtang, there was nothing else. It could not possibly be because of such a ridiculous reason, could it? It honestly is because I hugged Tangtang. Su Xing laughed. Everyone perspired. The knowledge star's mind was ingenious. She looked at Tangtang, Then she looked at everyone and very quickly understood the significance of Su Xing's hug. After she thought things through, she could not help but laugh. Young Lord truly makes Xinjie broaden her horizons. Xinjie honestly did not think of this. Sister Xinjie, just what happened? And Suwen could not help asking. Count how many people are present, Suwen, and then you will know. Everyone counted. Su Xing, his 10-star generals, Wu Siyou, Zhang Feiyu, Shiyu, and Hua Wanyue. 15 people altogether, but they could not see anything special. Could it be 15? Wu Siyou also was stunned. 15? The most distinguishing characteristic of the 9 halls diagram was that each of the rows added up to 15. In other words, the 9 palaces mechanism was not the arrangement of numbers. Rather, the result of the numbers was important, so that was why Su Xing had Tang Tang come out. This just happened to sum to 15 people. Ever since ancient times, all of Liangshan continent's cultivators had thought of the first level yet did not think of the second level. 15 people can open the mechanism? It was this simple? Hua Wanyue was speechless. Simple? This is but a considerably brilliant psychological trap. Su Xing smiled. Psychological trap? Hua Wanyue did not know what to say. Yes, just the 15 people nevertheless made the Bright Moon Longevity Palace forever unable to be opened. Wu Xinjie gasped with admiration. I don't understand. Zhang Feiyu felt that she was a big idiot right now. Fortunately, her little sister that had a very damaging mouth also was confused. If there was only 15 people, then the mechanism can be opened. This Bright Moon Longevity Palace cannot just be a perfect 15. Lin Yingmei had followed Su Xing for so long, and she more or less understood a bit of psychology. The Bright Moon Longevity Palace was such a sacred place. The star cultivators who wanted to solve it were found everywhere, and if they caught a hint of anything, an innumerable number of cultivators would rush over. Regardless of whether or not they could solve it, they would come. This meant that 15 cultivators was easier said than done. Perhaps some people could have imagined the relation to 15, but to have 16, 17 or more cultivators leave the Bright Moon Longevity Palace was not too possible to achieve. Who could be so tolerant as to submissively yield treasures to somebody else? Sect ancestors were possible, but others would rather have no one obtain the treasure if they themselves could not have it. It was precisely because of this sort of subtle psychology that the Bright Moon Longevity Palace had always lasted until now. Su Xing could say that this time was due to fate. The 10 great sects wanted to encircle and kill Su Xing, so basically no cultivators wanted to rush into the Bright Moon Longevity Palace. This gave Su Xing the perfect opportunity. Otherwise, with more people, Su Xing could not have removed them. Secondly, Su Xing's star generals were not necessarily a very important reason. 9 star generals to open the 9 palaces, this was unprecedented and would never be surpassed hereafter. Oh, I wonder what treasures the Bright Moon Longevity Palace has. Shi Yuan's natural instincts as the best thief under heaven were aroused. She was eager to go, rubbing her palms together. The white treasure monkey she had refined was let out, prepared at any time. The 9 palaces let out 9 rays of light that shot straight into the 9 firmaments. In the light, they saw a stele of unusual size appear. This stele had countless spell script, was seemingly jade and glittered with moonlight and stars. It let out an endless aura. This is the longevity stele? Wu Xinjie was astonished. The longevity stele, the Bright Moon Longevity Palace's greatest treasure. Legends said the Longevity Palace had descended from Star World, an immortal's abode stele that became 9 pieces. These 9 steles then became the 9 palaces. If the 9 steles were combined, then control of the Bright Moon Longevity Palace could be assumed. Of course, what made people even more wild was that this stele purportedly recorded the longevity cultivation method. Thus, it received the name Longevity Stele. Wu Xinjie had always believed this was no more than the scratchwork of scholars. Now, it seems surprisingly real. 9 longevity steles. This completely was outside of Su Xing's expectations. Just at this moment, there was an air-shattering noise, like a rolling boom of thunder. Space shattered, simultaneously entering the Longevity Palace. More than a dozen escape lights arrived in succession, shocking everyone awake. The newcomers were the 10 great sects. Seeing the 9 longevity steels, these cultivators that originally could band together against a common enemy were immediately wild. Each of the steels reportedly had one part of the longevity cultivation method. If they could obtain this cultivation method, it would be far more important than killing the purple thunder monster. Even Nangong Xing could not help but not dismiss the idea. She had never imagined that the purple thunder monster surprisingly would actually be able to solve the 9 palace mechanism of the Bright Moon Longevity Palace. Fight for the longevity steels. No matter what happens, we cannot let him obtain them. They had no need for Nangong Xing's unnecessary words. All of the cultivators flew towards the 9 palaces. At the same time, Su Xing's side also began to take action even more swiftly. No matter what, how could they let these outsiders steal away the longevity steels? The battle that originally was supposed to be an encirclement of the purple thunder monster had astonishingly turned into the scene of fighting over the longevity steels. Hey, I'm right here, didn't you come to kill me? Don't run. Su Xing coldly laughed. The 12 heavenly depths flew out. The giant swords were like gates that erected an impregnable line of defense. Those sword bodies exuded a pressure that made the ancestors feel stifled. Surprisingly, they are forged from Zhen Wu divine iron? Nangong Xing's expression sunk, not daring to be careless toward Su Xing, purple thunder monster. If you leave right now and yield the longevity palace to us, the 10 great sects will no longer investigate the crimes you committed. Nangong Xing shouted. Su Xing sneered. He said to Lining, Ingnisio little Huang, Nyangzi, you go fight for the longevity steels for now. We can't make things easy for these old bastards. Master's safety is important. Yan Yishan said. The others also felt this way. How could the longevity steels compare to Su Xing's safety? Su Xing's heart warmed. He smiled. Go fight for the steels for now. I can hold out for 60 seconds. All of the girls knew that they could not think too much right now. The 10 great sects cultivators already split up towards each of the palaces. If they let An Suwen and Tang Lianxin go fight, this clearly was dangerous to the extreme. All of you go, Shiyu shall protect milord. Shiyu said. Shiyu, you go to. The 9 palaces can't be done without you. Su Xing shook his head. He knew that as the target of the 10 great sects' hatred, he could involve several great cultivators. This gave them ample opportunity to vie for the steels. Everyone was unwilling in their hearts, but they knew they could not be indecisive, let alone that the 60 seconds Su Xing was giving them was considered a promise. Young master, please last 30 seconds, your servant will then return. Lin Wangmai coldly shouted, leaving Crying Frost behind. The others also left battle-capable star beasts when they saw this. Subsequently, they flew towards the 9 palaces without any hesitation. Ridiculous! Do not think a single one of you can escape. Nangong Xing sneered. Her hand beckoned. The sword light of the extreme clarity flying swords then twisted over to attack. A profound sword array suddenly unfolded in all directions. Her thinking was the same as Su Xing's, to stall everyone and give Shimin Jinlian the opportunity to snatch away the longevity steel. Heavenly depths surrounded them like thick and heavy shields. Su Xing's hand then pointed, and Heaven Tearing and Langya attacked in succession. Golden and green rainbows intersected. Su Xing's fingers then snapped. Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder that was like a large net obstructed Nangong Xing's flying swords. Just you alone dares to show off as a hero before me. How perfect for me. Nangong Xing smiled. She activated Extreme Clarity Profound Light, and this light covered towards Su Xing like a canopy, unexpectedly wrapping up heavenly depths. What a powerful ability. Su Xing shuddered. He felt that heavenly depths surprisingly seemed to have been caught in a quagmire, unable to extricate themselves. Just at this moment, a light arrow pierced through and shattered the clear light. Turning his head back to look, Hua Wanyue was gracefully drawing back her bow, her eyes resolute as if saying, there is also me accompanying you. Hero Star. Why are you here? Spotting that heaven earth sun moon Bao, Nangong Xing was startled. She again gazed at Su Xing practically as if she was looking at a monster. Was this man truly sent by Maiden Mountain? Hua Wanyue sneered, her heavenly hero red luan bird manifesting, igniting a blaze. This made Nangong Xing change. With a top-notch heavenly star keeping watch, how could a mere supervoid early stage like her have any confidence? Su Xing saw her hesitate, so he activated the sword chant. The 24-sword rainbows heaven tearing and Langya launched. Nangong Xing attacked with extreme clarity profound light and the extreme clarity flying swords. The clear light was like a hanging galaxy, completely suppressing Su Xing. The powerful magic energy of the supervoid stage made heaven tearing unable to move forward an inch. The clear void flying swords flashed. The 12 heavenly depths ashen light magnified and became a mountain, unexpectedly warding off the supervoid stage flying swords. To use supercluster middle stage and unexpectedly blocking her powers, Nangong Xing's expression was unsightly to the extreme. Ridiculous. Nangong Xing's mouth slightly opened, and she breathed out a clear light. This clear light became a green line, unfolding layer upon layer. Su Xing's fingers snapped, and purple mansion immortal thunder shot up. Clear light and purple thunder entangled one another. A ray of white light flashed by. Crying Frost opened its jaws and pounced on Nangong Xing. Then, Hua Wanyue completely did not hesitate to use her yellow rank special move, Dance Through the Willows. Her bow emerged, firing countless arrows of light in midair, fluttering just like falling willow fronds. Nangong Xing raised the dual mode's ruler. The ruler's form became 2, 2 became 4, and then more and more. Its shadows duplicated, revolving around Nangong Xing. The ruler shadows shuttled back and forth like a mirror, blocking all attacks. Careful! Hua Wanyue was just about to fire her second arrow when her super-powerful senses suddenly perceived danger. The hero star's divine intent moved, and the heavenly hero red luan bird flapped its wings, become a cloud of fire that blocked in front of Su Xing. Su Xing heard Hua Wanyue's words and was startled, turning his head back. Cold light shivered. The sword chi that scattered in all directions exploded against the heavenly hero red luan bird's body, unexpectedly directly slaying this star beast. Heavenly depths blocked. The remaining sword chi slammed against heavenly depths like a raging torrent. Even if it was leftover power, it still made Su Xing feel terror. Hua Wanyue fired 2 arrows in succession. She intercepted the sword chi, and then a beautiful figure already appeared. Sword Saint Xiaoyao? Nangong Xing could not help but be delighted to see that elegant man. She had never thought that someone would unexpectedly not go to fight over the longevity steel and instead remain behind to face the purple thunder monster. Supervoid Sword Saint. Su Xing and Hua Wanyue turned grim. Truly a pity that, Sai at World's End, was unexpectedly unable to kill you, Hero Star. You truly are a nuisance. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's tone was calm yet somewhat unhappy. He had concentrated all of his power just now to seize a chance and thought he could several wound the purple thunder monster, not expecting the hero star to disrupt things. To his surprise, she had sacrificed her own star beast to act as a shield for this man. You are not his star general. Is there any need for you to go so far? Sword Saint Xiaoyao's hand gripped a sword of cold light that he pointed at Hua Wanyue. Wanyue, are you all right? Su Xing was very surprised. Hua Wanyue maintained that extraordinary grace. Do you of false renown deserve my explanation? An arrow was fired. The light broke. Since this is the case, this leisurer will not be polite with you. Fellow is truly very courageous. Today, we will kill the purple thunder monster together on behalf of heaven. Nangong Xing happily said. She extended a hand, and the dual mode's ruler's shadows broke away from her body, turning into thousands of dragons that attacked the snow-walking frost-eye beast all at once. The snow-walking frost-eye beast's transparent wings released white light. The 1,000 ruler images were unending. This prehistoric spirit treasures might combine with its user's power as a supervoid cultivator made for extraordinary power. The air rumbled with a sound that seemed to pierce heaven and earth. When Su Xing saw Ing Mei's star beast was about to be overwhelmed, he extended a hand and flipped out the earth book. Yellow dust gathered and manifested the absolute Empress 2 true spirit. A true spirit magic weapon. Nangong Xing's pupils stared blankly, and her heart immediately overflowed with greed. Sword Saint Xiaoyao similarly concentrated. Empress 2 flew around the snow-walking frost-eye beast's surroundings, her sleeves spry and lively, the glistening yellow earth chi rolling up the dual mode's ruler and the snow-walking frost-eye beast at the same time. Not good. Nangong Xing's face changed. She suddenly discovered the dual mode's ruler had been trapped by the yellow chi, as if it was stuck in a bog, incapable of breaking free. At this moment, Sword Saint Xiaoyao flashed by. He gripped a divine weapon, attacking. The two great supervoid cultivators' powerful pressure seemed to be like the 5 sacred mountains bearing down on them. An ordinary cultivator would inevitably be only able to resign himself to death. Fortunately, Su Xing was completely unafraid. The star crest on his forehead twinkled, and the 12 heaven tearing gathered together into his hand, forming a golden dragon sword. Supervoid Sword Saint? Then let me experience it. Su Xing sneered, rushing forth. This leisurer needs only 10 seconds to get rid of you. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's figure disappeared. Clang! Su Xing did not blink. Heaven tearing repelled the slash. The man's expression was extremely calm, emitting an ice-cold presence, as if he was a cold spring pool, pouring down onto Su Xing's head like a stream. Sword chi spurted forth from the sword's tip. Supervoid Sword Saints were capable of controlling sword chi as if it was their own arm. This sword chi was even more powerful than a flying sword. Su Xing's light smoke dance steps firmly retreated to avoid the sword light. Practically without any visible movement from leisurer Xiaoyao, the second wave of slashes already appeared. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of air breaking continuously echoed. Several arrows knocked Sword Saint Xiaoyao off course. Hua Wanyue's gaze was like a falcon's, silently providing support from behind Su Xing, plucking her bowstring. A light arrow shot into the sky. But Sword Saint Xiaoyao repelled it. Hero Star, you are courting death. Nangong Xing shouted, resolved to stall Hua Wanyue. The extreme clarity flying swords hid, and 1,000 rays of green immediately appeared in front of Hua Wanyue, the speed extremely quick. Hua Wanyue was unable to break free. 12 giant heavenly depths became a shield in the nick of time, blocking the extreme clarity flying swords. Nangong Xing took out a green bead from within her hair. She raised her hand towards heavenly depths and struck. The moment this bead appeared, it became a basket-sized bunch of clear light, like a golden snake, soundless like a cool breeze blowing by. This pearl was named Thousandly Cool Breeze Bead, was a powerful magic weapon that Nangong Xing refined using extreme clarity profound light. When this bead appeared, it produced a green astral wind. It was extremely suited for dealing with trapped flying swords. The 12 boulder-like heavenly depths shuddered as they were wrapped in clear breeze profound light. The 100 extreme clarity flying swords then fell like rain. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. Hua Wanyue's left hand held her red jade star-splitting short spear and used blood dance. Red light and green light clashed, and Nangong Xing then continuously activated attack magic weapons. The talismans pounded towards Hua Wanyue without any reservation. Meanwhile, on Su Xing and Sword Saint Xiaoyao's side, leisurer Xiaoyao in possession of the Supervoid Sword Saint realm was not the same as a similar level Supervoid cultivator. The 10 seconds mentioned previously absolutely was not ridiculous self-importance. Su Xing's flying swords connected into swordlight. Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder was completely unable to stop something the level of a sword saint. Leisurer Xiaoyao's speed was already swift to the point his figure became an illusion. Su Xing naturally knew the might of a supervoid sword saint. It was extremely challenging for a sword cultivator who purely trained with swords to cultivate to supervoid stage, but when they reached supervoid stage, the star energy in their body would fuse together with their sword like a vast starry sky. Each technique, each move would far surpass magic weapons and star generals in battle. This was also why Maiden Mountain's 108-star maidens were called Fiend Stars, those star generals, in particular the martial generals whose blood flowed innately with spectacular martial arts. Although Sword Saint Xiaoyao was formidable, Su Xing had inherited every kind of innate skill including battle doctrine, and he regularly sparred with top-notch martial generals. Today, he was completely not at a disadvantage facing a super void Sword Saint. Light smoke dance steps moved and his body techniques changed. Heaven tearing manifested 12 golden dragons. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's life-cast magic weapon, the divine sword in his hand, shuddered. His sword light was like a wave, unfolding layer upon layer, accompanying the crisp rings of clashing metal. The sword blocked the incoming screaming golden dragons. Afterwards, he flung his hand again, and countless blade shadows pounced toward Su Xing, dazzling enough to make one unable to distinguish real from fake. The sword chi wildly swelled and thundered, submerging the 12 golden dragons. Su Xing swayed, quickly circling around behind Sword Saint Xiaoyao. This time, he attacked with boxing technique. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's expression turned grim. He turned his hand and used the sword to catch Su Xing's punch, not at all beating it back. This is Lin Chang's battle doctrine? From just their first exchange, Sword Saint Xiaoyao instantly sensed that the battle had immediately broke free of his grasp. The divine weapon that had been always successful in every endeavor had met with obstructions when faced with an insignificant supercluster middle stage cultivator. The coordination of the purple thunder monster's speed and power were perfect, making Leisurer Xiaoyao endlessly astonished. It looked like this legendary purple thunder monster was skilled as expected. From their first exchange, Su Xing made Sword Saint Xiaoyao sample an unprecedented opponent. 10 seconds have already passed. Su Xing answered. We have only just begun. As if proof of these words, Sword Saint Xiaoyao's sword burst with waves of sword chi. The air splashed with countless spray-like ripples, making all of Su Xing's attacks instantly vanish. Sword chi circled around, forming a tidal wave. Su Xing did not dare be careless. In just the blink of an eye, Su Xing suddenly felt all of his defenses become futile and wan. Free and unfettered absolute. The corner of Sword Saint Xiaoyao's lips curled with a cold smile. The attack was coming. His silhouette instantly became a brilliant line that shot straight for Su Xing's head. Free and unfettered absolute was practically Sword Saint Xiaoyao's special technique, particularly effective in close quarters. Not only could it terminate the opponent's defense, its final stroke could leave the target with no place to hide, only able to sit and wait for death. The Purple Thunder monster's legend should end now. But just as the attack was about to burst, it suddenly stopped burning. A 9-ringed, practically bright as blood saber blocked this sharp thrust from the front. This saber's 9 rings were scathing, burning with a terrible flame, more crimson than blood. Every ignition on the blade's edge was an incomparably sharp blade. Sparks flashed in all directions. This thing that embodied that opposites of life and death shot out a dazzling light, as if it was mocking him. Very clearly, even the divine weapon of a sword saint is unable to resist the star weapon of a star general. Su Xing slightly smiled. His legend continued. Sword Saint Xiaoyao was stunned. His hand rose and the saber thrust. Surging dark flames burst out of the blade. Clang, clang, 9 times, the pressure of the blade rang. Clumps of flame rushed out one after another to attack Sword Saint Xiaoyao. Endless will-o'-the-wisps burned without end. Su Xing then raised a fragrant handkerchief. This handkerchief spun, simultaneously covering the 9 hells' demonic flames. Blaze refining 9 hells saber. Yellow technique. 9 consecutive hellfire demonic slash. The flames dispersed. Can this type of insignificant ability hinder me? Sword Saint Xiaoyao sneered. His foot gently stood on tiptoe, his sword hacking at Su Xing. Su Xing grinned. Wanyue, what do you say? A soft chuckle came from behind him. What? Sword Saint Xiaoyao froze. Whoosh. The sharp arrow of an imposing death god that could devour the heavens took advantage of the instant he was wrapped in flames to directly shoot Sword Saint Xiaoyao's chest. Sword Saint Xiaoyao was dumbstruck. Behind Su Xing, there was a beautiful and graceful figure, who had very tacit understanding. 10,000 God-killing arrow. Wrapped in a murderous aura that pierced through the world, the 10,000 God-killing arrow directly penetrated Sword Saint Xiaoyao's chest. How could Sword Saint Xiaoyao have expected their coordination to be so perfect? Unable to put up a defense, the God-killing arrow had pierced his layers of supervoid defenses. With an explosion, her killing intent shook. However, at the final moment, Sword Saint Xiaoyao still concentrated all of his star energy to a single point, avoiding fatal injury. Still, this was sufficient to make the unperturbed supervoid Sword Saint seethe in anger. Nangong Xing, what are you doing? Nangong Xing was somewhat in a difficult situation. Originally, Wu Song's white and black unicorn tiger had suddenly leapt out from a corner and caught her off guard with a sneak attack. Su Xing's 12 Langya then instantly obstructed her. By the time Nangong Xing repelled the white and dark unicorn tiger, Su Xing and Hua Wanyue had already gave him a taste of his own medicine with tacit understanding. This damned couple. Nangong Xing cursed. We cannot hold back any longer. If you have any abilities, quickly use them now. If we wait until those star generals return. Sword Saint Xiaoyao drew in a deep breath, making his star energy circulate inside his wound, his expression considerably grim. Nangong Xing was very surprised that the leisurer before her who appeared more impatient than her would want to slay the purple thunder monsters so badly. Inwardly confused, she did not have too much time to think. With regards to the current situation, the deeper his hatred for the purple thunder monster, the better. I still have an extreme clarity first origin sword array, but it requires time. I will shield you. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's sword slashed out a dragon-like sword chi. Nangong Xing did not dare be neglectful, reading an incantation as she circulated her extreme clarity immortal technique. Extreme clarity profound light glowed brightly, her hands twisted, swept, and drizzled clear light, illuminating the dark night. 100 extreme clarity flying swords simultaneously split apart into green sword shadows. This rainbow of swords was like a crisscrossing bridge, forming a patterned sword array. Envious of the East had the dual modes profound dust sword array. Nangong Xing had the extreme clarity immortal killing sword array, too, but this sword array normally required a long time to set up in order to activate and that the opponent had to be inside the sword array, otherwise there would be an extremely large hole in the sword array. Before, Nangong Xing had the dual modes ruler protecting her, so she was not afraid. However, the dual modes ruler at this time already was trapped by Empress Tu's Earth Book and unable to break free. Thus, Nangong Xing was anxious. But Sword Saint Xiaoyao's words made Nangong Xing resolve herself. If they truly waited until the star generals broke out, things would be troublesome at that time. A soft chuckle. Hua Wanyue leapt to the top of the hall with a single somersault. Her curves were wonderful, and her long hair fluttered in the wind. The hero star's gaze was icily arrogant. Without another word, she pulled her bow into a full moon. Scarlet light on the bowstring took the form of an arrow, a powerful force that was like a caged beast brandishing its claws and fangs. It was obvious that Hua Wanyue was similarly preparing her most powerful attack. The two women each turned their weakest side over to the other. At the same time, Su Xing and Sword Saint Xiaoyao's thinking was the same: kill the other first. You are dead. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's asserted. Come and get it. Su Xing sneered. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's silhouette then disappeared. The clashing sounds of sword upon sword again rang. Su Xing withdrew, suddenly shouted, and the 12 Langya danced, showering green sword light toward Sword Saint Xiaoyao. As if it was an unstoppable hurricane, it trapped Sword Saint Xiaoyao tightly within the blade shadows. But regardless of how crafty the angle, how variably he changed the speed, Su Xing's flying swords were still somewhat lacking to cause the super void Sword Saint harm. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's sword that was infused with a serene blue light magnificently danced. The sword chi it fired was fiercer than a hurricane, like an airtight wall. It washed away all of Su Xing's flying swords and powers. To be able to last this long against a super void Sword Saint, even if you die, the people will still remember you. Sword Saint Xiaoyao's voice came through amidst the surging attack. Does this mean that you've finished thinking of your epitaph for a supervoid star saint dying at the hands of a supercluster cultivator? Su Xing retorted. Then, Chi flames suddenly swelled. It pressured Su Xing's hand into going numb, and heaven tearing nearly slipped out of his hand. Sword Saint Xiaoyao faintly smiled. His sword chi rolled like wildly swelling waters. The 12 heavenly depths swords appeared in front of Su Xing. The giant swords became shields, completely blocking this stormy sword chi. The frightening power rolled over him like a collapsing mountain. The life-cast flying sword's heavenly depths tottered on the edge of collapse, and even Su Xing felt challenged. Not good. Su Xing's pupils stared blankly. Sword Saint Xiaoyao sent a doppelganger to attack him from behind. This is the end. Sword Saint Xiaoyao explosively shouted, his sword slashing down. Lin Ying swiftly moved for the first palace, a long trail of dust covering the ground, like a fairyland. An escape light very quickly appeared in Lin Ying's line of sight. Immediately afterwards, there was a giant, badly damaged steel. It glowed with golden radiance, still shining. Lin Ying shouted, and her footsteps gently tapped. The cultivator of the escape light turned his head. It was an aged face. This steel-like expression was Ancestor Wanli's. Ancestor Wanli waved his hand and attacked with blooming water divine thunder. The girl's figure instantly accelerated. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear broke the blooming water divine thunder. Ancestor Wanli saw that he had no way to break free. He could only turn around and brush his fingertips. 2 giant blooming water lotus flowers smashed at Lin Ying, and following his pointing, his flying swords became threads. Just when Lin Ying cut apart the blooming water lotus flowers, another magic weapon, Blue Water's Dragon Net 3, arrived. Blue Water's Dragon Net was superior to Ancestor Bailey's water-splitting dragon binding net. This net unfurled, appearing to be like a dozen blue waves dragons. In a flash, they had enveloped Lin Ying. The dozen blue waves dragon bit over each other, their mouths spitting out blooming water thunder light. If it was a normal person, then Ancestor Wanli using the net practically left the opponent in his palm, but against the majestic star, how could Ancestor Wanli dare treat her so lightly? Lin Chong, it is perfect that you came. This ancestor just so happens wants to use you as a sacrifice for the sect. Reading an incantation, and countless flying swords wrapped towards the first palace. 1,000 layers of blue light, 10,000 layers of thunder light rolled up to suffocate Lin Ying within. 10,000 layer blooming water heavenly thunder sword array. Lin Ying's gaze concentrated. The 10,000 rays of thunder light suddenly attacked Lin Ying. The bright moon longevity palace seemed to have been blown to pieces. Ancestor Wanli panted. He felt somewhat drained just using his most powerful sword array, but so long as he could kill the majestic star, everything was worth it. Majestic Star Panther Head Lin Chong, this ancestor has offended you. Ancestor Wanli sneered. His mind was still on the longevity steel, and he immediately turned around to take it. Just at this moment, a bone-chilling cold attacked his whole body. There was a crisp and clear shout. Ancestor Wanli turned his head, shocked. Impossible! The insufferably arrogant divine thunder sword array and the blue water dragon net unexpectedly were unable to obstruct Lin Ying's pace. Even a supervoid cultivator could not possibly completely escape this magic weapon and sword array, let alone to be able to break away so quickly. Before he could understand what was happening, Lin Ying saw her opportunity and leapt up. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear slashed downwards through the wind, a spearlight of snowy radiance sweeping towards Ancestor Wanli, completely without any leeway to evade. Ancestor Wanli was left with no choice but to circulate all of the star energy in his body at full power to directly block. However, the tough spearlight did not slow in the slightest because of this. Her power suddenly grew stronger. Ancestor Wanli felt his heart suffocate, his body become exceptionally heavy. Each of Lin Ying's spear techniques was fiercer than last, each attack letting out a blizzard light. Long blizzard nights. Ancestor Wanli's body techniques were somewhat weakly rushed. Catching sight of Lin Ying's attack, The wind around his whole body howled. Ancestor Wanli used every sort of power to protect himself. His defenses surprisingly were defeated in not even a second by Lin Yingmei's long blizzard nights. The continuous and uninterrupted spearlight only forced Ancestor Wanli away from the longevity steel. At the moment, it was too late for Ancestor Wanli to think of fleeing. The last attack had closed the distance. Ancestor Wanli leaned away, barely evading. At the same time, he summoned his flying swords, seizing the chance to attack. Lin Yingmei saw this. The spear's edge repelled the flying swords with room to spare, and the last spear attack directly went for Ancestor Wanli's chest. Cold light pierced through in a straight line, freezing everything along the way. Ancestor Wanli was aghast. How could he have anticipated that Lin Yingmei's speed and attacks would unexpectedly increase a level? The Arctic Star Serpent Spear's head pierced through. Although Ancestor Wanli kept complete track of it with his divine consciousness, his body's reactions nevertheless fell behind. Ancestor Wanli was unable to focus all of the Supervoid Star energy in his body into a defense. Dark Rank Spear Technique. Freezing Frost of 9 Provinces. The spear's tip was still left with an absolute ice cold. The entire palace was already covered in snowflakes at the moment, entering a cold winter. 5-star destined weapon. Ancestor Wanli took in a breath. His whole body was thoroughly cold, but he was worthy of being the blooming water sword sect's strongest cultivator. Lin Yingmei was concerned about Su Xing, and she used Long Blizzard Night and Freezing Frost of 9 Prefectures to attain success in a spurt of energy. Even if she was a star general, this was difficult to support, but Ancestor Wanli relied on the profound cultivation of Supervoid Middle Stage to directly receive the attacks. However, he was startled into a cold sweat. All of his defensive measures were nearly broken. Ancestor Wanli had very nearly been left unguarded and run through by the spear. Thinking about it made Ancestor Wanli's heart palpitate incessantly. Lin Yingmei's brow furrowed, somewhat regretful she did not kill him. Surprisingly, a 5-star destined weapon. Ancestor Wanli was both shocked and resentful. However, you used your dark technique just now? This ancestor has no need to fear you. Today, this ancestor will become the first person to kill Lin Chong. His finger pointed. A blooming water divine thunder attacked. While that water thunder fell, drawing closer and closer, instantly becoming an incomparably large palm. It ruthlessly grabbed at Lin Yingmei. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear unexpectedly did not break it in one thrust. Did you think this blooming water palm heaven art was so simple? Ancestor Wanli laughed aloud. His hands clapped together. The blooming water divine thunder's powerful ability blooming water palm heaven immediately snatched away the Arctic Star Serpent Spear. As far as Ancestor Wanli was concerned, a star general without her star weapon did not need to be feared at all. He shouted, and his flying swords became a thread, attacking Lin Yingmei. Lin Yingmei dodged, suddenly breaking free of the divine weapon, leaping into the air. She relied on the snow-winged cicada bodice to move easily in the air. You overestimate yourself. Ancestor Wanli sneered. He repeatedly activated several talismans. The talismans let out several blue water dragons. Although the blue water dragon net had been torn to shreds by the Arctic Star Serpent Spear, these dragon net talismans were enough to hinder Lin Yingmei. So long as he could seize the star general, Ancestor Wanli was confident he could use his flying swords to kill her without a problem. Lin Yingmei's expression did not change. Her fists directly destroyed the dragon net talismans. In the speed of several blinks, her body techniques had already rapidly approached Ancestor Wanli. Just perfect. Ancestor Wanli sneered, nevertheless about to control his flying swords to attack. Suddenly, the air froze. Ancestor Wanli was astonished to discover all of his flying swords seemed to have been frozen. Lin Yingmei's cold smile was right in front of him. Her jade arm stabbed, just like a sharp spear. Ah! Ancestor Wanli cried. Hand spear. Freezing Frost of 9 Provinces. Lin Yingmei arm penetrated, just like a spear. How could Ancestor Wanli have foreseen this? Seeing the impending formidable power, His magic energy was nevertheless severely depleted, unable to dodge in time. He was run through by a pinpoint of cold. The energy and blood in his whole body rapidly froze. His body and even his divine sense seemed to freeze. He was suddenly shocked. Enduring the pain, he shook his sleeve. He was a top-notch ancestor of a 4 great sword sect, after all, and his body gushed with a blooming water thunder. Blooming water divine thunder wrapped around Lin Yingmei's body and exploded, trying to stop her, but the Lin Yingmei in Extreme Realm was not so simple to handle. The majestic star's empty hand waved, and the Arctic star serpent spear flew directly back into her grasp. By the time Ancestor Wanli sensed it, he had already scurried frantically away. At such a close distance, to have the majestic star next to him and without any defensive means, he definitely knew what would happen next. The large blooming water divine thunder was unable to stop her. Ancestor Wanli screamed, wanted to flee, but as he turned around, his chest was already run through by a spear. The Grand Supercluster Middle Stage Cultivator died under her spear right there. Lin Yingmei coldly looked at this ancestor. She looted his astral bag, and without even looking, her figure wavers and arrived in front of the longevity steel. That longevity steel that had appeared was not intact at all. It was wrapped in a dull gold luster. She reached out a hand to touch it, only to find a forbid dance that required refining. Lin Yingmei wrinkled her brow, stabbed with her spear, and light raged for a split second. Under the 5-star Arctic Star Serpent Spear, the longevity steel's forbid dance very quickly dissolved. Just at this moment, there was a noise like thunder from outside the hall, shaking the entire palace. Multicolored rainbow light suddenly covered the halls. "Young master!" Lin Yingmei was startled. "Is this the longevity steel?" Xianzhenzi looked at this tablet of flickering light with an expression of awe. The inscription upon it was written in a profound script. The characters were shaped like oddly swimming tadpoles. Although it was only one ruined fragment, Xianzhenzi still could discern the cultivation method on it. "I never thought it was real. This is the longevity cultivation method, ha!" Xianzhenzi madly laughed. "Today truly has been worthwhile." Xianzhenzi's sleeve shook, and a green rainbow twisted towards the tablet to break the forbid dance and take the steel. As for the purple thunder monster, Xianzhenzi currently truly had not the slightest interest. With the longevity cultivation method, what could the most high path be considered as in the future? The golden light of the tablet extended 10,000 zhang, and this steel suddenly transformed into a golden armored giant. "Brazen thief, you dare spy on the technique for long life." The golden armored soldier gripped a halberd, its expression stern. Its eyes had golden light of biting cold, and with an explosive yell, it raised and stabbed with its halberd. Xianzhenzi had already anticipated this. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords attacked, the sword lights crisscrossing. They cut countless sword marks and sparks over the golden armor, yet were not useful at all. The golden armored warrior's eyes released golden light, and a golden light more than a zhang long shot directly for Xianzhenzi's chest. The light of a firefly dares to compete with the sun. Xianzhenzi sneered, circulating the true immortal open mind chant. His sleeve fluttered, and he grabbed the golden light with one hand, surprisingly crushing it to pieces. Then Xianzhenzi extended his hand, shattering this golden light to form a chicken egg-sized ball of light that slammed against the golden armored warrior. The golden armored soldier let out a low roar, stabbing with his halberd. Xianzhenzi chanted the word, "Swift," and the 72 outer void flying immortals' swords fluttered in the golden armored soldiers' surroundings, dancing like youthful girls. Their perfume could even be smelled. Heavenly Immortal Sword Array. The flying swords suddenly combined following Xianzhenzi's gesturing. Their dance movements were dazzling, but in the blink of an eye, the sword lights attacked and left the golden armored soldier heavily damaged. The Heavenly Immortal Sword Array was one of the 72 outer void flying immortals' swords' first-rate sword arrays, naturally no small matter given Xianzhenzi's skill. The golden armored divine soldier dissipated. Before Xianzhenzi could draw a breath, a halberd all of a sudden appeared right under his nose. Even Xianzhenzi was caught off guard. Fortunately, Xianzhenzi always used the true immortal to protect himself, thus avoiding disaster. Courting death. The old man wielded wind from his palm, sweeping aside the golden armored soldier. The 72 flying swords sword rainbow moved. Whoosh! Another golden armored soldier appeared out of nowhere, its halberd breaking his defenses and sticking into his ribs. Xianzhenzi vomited blood. He slapped his cranium, and a magic weapon activated that repelled the golden armored soldier. Whoosh whoosh! Several golden armored soldiers appeared in his surroundings. These divine soldiers were like phantoms, and Xianzhenzi surprisingly did not sense when these had appeared. Insignificant skills, yet you dare be impudent. Xianzhenzi was infuriated. His hands pinched, and the sword lights surged to crush them. Then he struck a hand seal, manifesting green light that filled the entire palace. Under the green light, those golden armored soldiers then disappeared like smoke. Everything was an illusion, as expected of a supercluster late-stage great cultivator. To use the dazzling light mind image to kill you is still somewhat difficult. A mocking voice came from above. Xianzhenzi was startled. The 72 flying swords protected him. He stared and was suddenly even more angry. A snow-white nine-tailed spirit fox with eyes glowing brightly showed a human-like charm. Beside the nine-tailed spirit fox was also a young girl in blue clothes wearing a slight smile as she held that slab of stone in her hand. These golden armored soldiers were not created by the longevity steel at all. Clearly, they were the illusions of that nine-tailed spirit fox. Shameful. Xianzhenzi was unable to restrain his anger, so furious that his face was red. The outer void flying immortal swords appeared and slashed at Hua Shui and Wu Exinji. The 8 gates black gold chains circled around into an array that intercepted the flying swords. Senior Xianzhenzi, since the longevity steel has already been taken by Xinjie, how about senior stop here? Could it be we truly must meet on the battlefield? Wu Xinjie's smile contained a faintly charming confidence. The knowledge star dares to be impudent in front of this old man? Xianzhenzi shouted. In the face of that first-rate longevity cultivation method, how could Xianzhenzi be willing to give up? Let alone the knowledge star, even if it was the majestic star, Xianzhenzi would take a risk out of desperation. Dazzling light mind image. Hua Shui's fox eyes launched several beams of white light. A boundless white world appeared in the skies and earth around Xianzhenzi. Every sort of bug, beast and golden armored soldiers appeared in succession. But Xianzhenzi merely shouted and used the flying swords to tear apart the illusion. Since he already knew this was an illusion magic, it was naturally very difficult for Hua Shui to think of trapping him again. Xianzhenzi's 12-faced colored glass mirror was activated. The 12-faced colored glass mirror suddenly enlarged, instantly surrounding Wu Xinjie and Hua Shui. This mirror's light was radiant as water, rippling blue light. A beam of light thick as an arm shot out from the mirror, reflecting through the 12-faced colored glass mirror, instantly become one big net. The Tai One immortal mirror? The corner of Wu Xinjie's lips curled, recognizing this was magic weapon that Xianzhenzi trapped and killed a dragon with. Those dozen blue light beams soared arrogantly, shooting all over Wu Xinjie's body. The 8 gates black gold chain had to be layered in order to finally stop this beam of light. This glass mirror was an immemorial lost treasure that Xianzhenzi had acquired. Not only could it trap the target, the immemorial secret art that the mirror possessed, Extreme One Immortal Light, was extremely rare. This light would endlessly reflect upon the target's body, rapidly wasting the opponent's strength. Trapped by the Tai One Immortal Mirror, it was very unlikely for her to escape. Originally, just by relying on this glass mirror, that Xianzhenzi was able to face 7th to 8th rank sky-swallowing dragon alone demonstrated its might. Hand over the longevity steel, otherwise this old man will turn you into scattered ash. Xianzhenzi sneered. His colored glass mirror could trap even true spirits and souls. Perhaps a slain star general would be unable to return to the star nest. However, he did not know at all that Wu Exinji had long already lost her star nest. In light of face before Zhao Hanyan, Senior Xianzhenzi cannot give up here? Wu Xinjie calmly smiled. Xianzhenzi showed cold killing intent. He struck hand seals inside the mirror. The extreme one immortal light immediately magnified, becoming as large as a bucket. The immortal light rolled towards Wu Xinjie like a tidal wave. The 8 gates black gold chains were drawn even more concentrated. The grinding sounds of the chains immediately filled the air. Master? Hua Shui blinked. Wu Xinjie was silent and motionless. Her divine intent moved. The 8 gates black gold chain became a profound formation, but that Tai One immortal mirror's immortal light was very formidable, weaving and entangling the 8 gates black gold chain, which made Wu Xinjie's control over the 8 gates black gold chain very difficult, protection increasingly exhausting. Activate. Xianzhenzi laughed, flipping through hand seals. The extreme one immortal light spread in all directions, manifesting an immortal realm pavilion platform, a bejeweled jade palace, and every kind of red crown crane and spirit deer. These illusions were stupefying, and even Wu Xinjie was nearly bewitched. Just at this moment, the illusion turned into 72 flying swords. With a bang, the 8 gates black gold chains were defeated by the swords. Not good, the old fart's immemorial magic weapon was unexpectedly this formidable. Wu Xinjie began to grow concerned. Xianzhenzi wore a disdainful grin. If it was any other martial 4-star general, he perhaps would have to be careful, but how could he not be aware of the knowledge star's abilities? Even if she had that strange 9-tailed spirit fox and these odd black gold chains, once the Tai One immortal mirror trapped her, so long as he spent a little time, he could refine the enemy sooner or later. So as to avert problems from a delay, the purple thunder monster taking action, Xianzhenzi activated a green talisman without another word. This talisman released a green spirit light, pouring into Xianzhenzi's body. The 12-faced Tai One immortal mirror was increasingly powerful. True immortal talisman. It seems Senior truly will not let this go. Wu Xinjie's eyes narrowed. This talisman could very briefly allow a cultivator's cultivation to reach its limits. All cultivation methods and abilities would become very powerful, however. The sole drawback was that it required the accompanying True Immortal Open Mind chant to be used. It could be said to be the True Immortal Palace's sole immortal talisman. But there were repercussions. By using this talisman, the True Immortal Open Mind chant's cultivation would decrease. At the same time, his own magic energy would be depleted, unable to be sustained. It seemed that Xianzhenzi would not hesitate to pay everything to obtain the longevity steal. Since this is the case, Xinjie shall not be polite. Sensing that the 8 gates black gold chain already were unable to bear the extreme one immortal light, Wu Xinjie did not dare be neglectful. Hua Shui! With a bewitching fox howl, Hua Shui possessed Wu Xinjie's body. The power of the 8 gates black gold chain suddenly burst, once again defending resolutely, but against Xianzhenzi's non-stop magic energy, this possession was an utterly inadequate measure to resist. Struggling at death's door. Wu Xinjie grinned charmingly. Her 3-star heaven-concealing stars fan appeared in her hand, and the knowledge star waved it. Then Xinjie invites Senior Xianzhenzi to taste Xinjie's Earth Rank special move. What? Earth Rank special move. Upon hearing those words, Xianzhenzi's expression was suddenly pale. Star General's Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow vied for supremacy in Liangshan. The Earth Rank techniques could be placed above Super Void. Just what technique can save you, Knowledge Star? Xianzhenzi shouted in indignation, but that nervous tone showed he was not confident. Wu Xinjie smiled, and the heaven-concealing stars fan suddenly fanned. A resplendent river of stars seemed to flow out of the fan. Earth Rank special move, the stars have moved. The stars have moved. A river of stars flowed, activating in full. Wu Xinjie's surroundings sunk into the beautiful scene of a galaxy. Before Xianzhenzi even had time to be surprised, the galaxy split in all directions. The extreme one immortal light of the Tai One immortal mirror suddenly changed directions. Xianzhenzi shouted. Wu Xinjie pointed her fan. The extreme one immortal light and the outer void flying immortal's swords were reflected back. Originally, life-cast flying swords were incapable of harming the user, but Wu Xinjie's "the stars have moved" was not so simple. Wrapped in the galaxy, the flying swords and the Tai-1 immortal mirror now became things Wu Xinjie controlled. Before Xian Jinzi could flee, he was surrounded by the Tai-1 immortal mirror. Then, the outer void flying immortal swords and the extreme 1 immortal light simultaneously attacked. Without any suspense, Xian Jinzi was completely destroyed. What a pity! Wu Xinjie sighed. This old fellow knows that Master has the longevity steel, which will be a disaster sooner or later. Hua Shui disapproved. Master, you are too soft. Xinjie is regretful over that astral bag. Wu Xinjie shook her head. The supercluster late-stage great cultivator's astral bag, there definitely would be lots of good things. What a pity it was reduced to ash by the extreme 1 immortal light and the flying swords together. This extreme 1 immortal light was formidable, as expected. Wu Xinjie looked again. The only things left of Xian Jinzi were only the Tai-1 immortal mirror and the 72 outer void flying immortals flying swords that had lost their master. Unless life-cast flying swords like these encountered a cultivator who had similar proficiency in the sword chant, it was simply a pile of useless scrap iron even if it was refined. The 100 flying swords from the 5 Poisons Valley had always been left in an isolated corner up until now. Wu Xinjie suddenly felt dizzy. Master? Hua Shui was startled. So using an earth rank technique for the first time will turn out like this. Wu Xinjie clapped her hands. Let us go help the other sisters now. Master, are you sure? Hua Shui asked. For the Star Maidens, the earth rank was practically their most brilliant special move. Although they had the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow, in actuality, those able to self-comprehend the Heaven rank was very rare after the 7 Stars Assembly, and to be able to use Earth rank special moves would bring great burden. No problem. Xinjie is but the knowledge star. The corner of Wu Xinjie's lips slightly curved. As the knowledge star of the 108 who could definitely comprehend the Heaven rank, using the Earth rank did not count as much. Hua Shui nodded. Just as Wu Xinjie was about to leave, right at this moment, a rainbow light outside the hall threaded together, suddenly awe-inspiring. And Suwen and Tang Lianxin went to the 3rd palace, arriving in front of the longevity steel a step ahead of all other cultivators. These girls were about to seize it when, in no more than the blink of an eye, a spry and lively female cultivator immediately entered the palace. Hand over this tablet to me, I am not enemies with you. The newcomer was the Heavenly Ice Holy Palace's Queen Lady of Ice. The Queen Lady of Ice originally had no desire to interfere with the hostilities between the Purple Thunder Monster and the Most High Path. Owing to the 10 great sects, she had no choice but to come, but the Purple Thunder Monster solving the Bright Moon Longevity Palace was far outside of her expectations. In addition, the Longevity Steel's manifestation made the Queen Lady of Ice feel even more astonished. The situation rapidly changed. Even if the Queen Ice, whose heart was like frozen ice, was interested in the longevity cultivation method. This is the Bright Moon Longevity Palace that Elder Brother solved. Why should we give it to you? Tang Lianxin was expressionless. The great void golden lotus blossomed with rays of light. Then I shall offend you. Queen Lady of Ice's hand rose. She knew that the longevity secret technique could not be obtained by words. Queen Lady of Ice then used her flying swords without saying another word. The Ice Spirit Snow Soul flying swords became 100 cold lights that shot over. The great void golden lotus shapeshifted into flying swords to block. Now that Tang Lianxin's great void golden lotus was also 5-star, it was not to be outdone facing a supercluster cultivator's flying swords. Solitary star Tang Lianxin pointed once more, and a flying dagger astral flew out. Queen Lady of Ice exhibited wonderful body techniques, her gait cold as ice, floating. One palm strike shattered this astral tool, then she squeezed together a hand seal. Several cold smokes shot out from her fingertips. The hall's cold air reached their internal organs in a split second. Lianxin, go take the longevity steel. Leave this to Suwen. And Suwen stood forth. Tang Lianxin knew that of the sisters that went to go snatch the longevity steels, they were the weakest of them all. In a direct confrontation against a supercluster cultivator, they practically had no chance of victory. The sole solution was for one of them to buy time, to first seize the longevity steel. With the solitary star's abilities, breaking the longevity steel's forbid dance naturally was not difficult. Queen Lady of Ice changed, and a ray of white light burst out, yet it was a sword that was seemingly jade, seemingly ice. It had no sheen, but the cold air it emanated was dense, chilly to the bone. The very air seemed to freeze, and the ground of the palace immediately was covered in a thick sheet of ice, so cold that even time seemed to grind to a halt. 10,000-year black ice. And Suwon was startled. This cold immortal sword was forged over a time of several dozen years from a piece of 10,000-year black ice that Queen Lady of Ice found at a place extremely south of the Heavenly Ice Holy Palace in a sheet of ice 10,000 zhang thick using the black ice cold chi that Queen Lady of Ice cultivated. It did not receive a bit of heat. The 10,000-year black ice was one of Liangshan continent's extreme cold type objects. It had condensed over a period of 10,000 years, naturally contained the Kuan-Yin cold chi of the Five Spirits Law Heavenly Book, and upon activating, with only the slightest inattentiveness, being swept by the cold chi could simultaneously seal flesh, blood vessels, and spirit pores. Magic energy circulation would be inefficient, and it could be said that it was naturally a first-rate precious object. Because Su Xing's water element flying sword required 10,000-year black ice, and Suwon remembered its characteristics clearly. And Suwon's limbs were ice-cold. A wave of cold attacked her, as if even the star nest had been frozen. Her whole body's star energy was even more unable to circulate, and she was inwardly shocked. She knew the might of this sword, and she promptly brought out the Seven Stars Birth Sword. Queen Lady of Ice did not have any battle intent at all. Like all the other cultivators, she only wanted to obtain this longevity steel. Although she had no hatred for the Purple Thunder Monster, she did not want to see the Purple Thunder Monster grow on his own. The cold immortal sword rose. And Suwon waved the Seven Stars Birth Sword. 7 iridescent rainbows flew out of the sword, as if they were drawing apart the sky. The cold immortal sword's cold chi was fierce. Qian Kun cold chi surged. The cold chi was pervasive, obscuring everything. The surroundings were an entirely pale white, and the 7 rays of color disappeared as if into the ocean before entering the cold chi. The chi of cold Yin was bone-chilling. And Suwon saw that the 7 Stars Birth Sword was completely outmatched by the cold immortal sword. Taking several steps back, she moved her divine intent towards the astral stone. With a cry, a hurricane flew out of the astral stone. It became millions of essence-swallowing dragons that flew out. Upon seeing the ancient strange beasts, Queen Lady of Ice did not panic. The cold immortal sword released a cold light that sprinkled down. This Kuan-Yin cold chi was something difficult for the essence-swallowing dragons to devour. The cold chi parted, and those essence-swallowing dragons seemed to have entered an unprecedented realm. They emitted an odd chi body, showing a profound clear light on their bodies. It expanded and contracted. Much of the cold chi in the air was absorbed. They unexpectedly devoured the Kuan-Yin cold chi. Queen Lady of Ice could not help but be stirred. How could she have known that in order to raise the essence-swallowing dragons, and Suwon now was using the remaining 10,000-year evil-suppressing gem bamboo to feed them? The essence-swallowing dragons' numbers were not only growing by the day, they had grown to unprecedented levels. A storm of green that filled the skies left Queen Lady of Ice with no choice but to retreat. The Ice Spirit Snow Soul Sword and the Great Void Golden Lotus were entangled for the time being, not easily disengaged. Now that the cold immortal sword was unexpectedly suppressed, she did not hesitate to use the Aurora bottle. A magnificently graceful beam sprayed out from the mouth of the bottle, as if it was a gushing tidal wave. This Aurora could attack and defend, and its attacks were exceptionally sharp. The Aurora twisted, dispersing many of the essence-swallowing dragons. Against that prehistoric Aurora, the essence-swallowing dragons opened their mouths and devoured it. The Aurora bottle. And Suwon recognized from a glance the treasure that Gong Kaiwei had previously used in the palace of Empress Hua, And for the cultivator in front of her to be able to wield Gong Xiwei's treasure, the smart young girl immediately deduced that the pair's relationship was close. Senior, can you give up? Suan once had a meeting with Kai Wei inside the palace of Empress Hua. And Suan did not want to damage Gong Kai Wei and Su Xing's relationship. She spoke for the time being. Queen Lady of Ice raised her eyebrows. As Suan had surmised, for the sake for this bright moon longevity palace, Queen Lady of Ice had specially took Gong Xiwei's Aurora bottle for protection. Her relationship to Gong Kai Wei was like that of a mother. The Queen Lady of Ice was naturally aloof and did not answer. She repeatedly used her abilities. How could her urgency to obtain the longevity steel not also be for the sake of her disciple as well? The cold immortal sword and the Aurora bottle were continuously used. The cold air was dense, sinking into the entire third palace and freezing it. And Suan used the 7 stars birth sword and essence swallowing dragons to barely resist. The efficacious star was increasingly exhausted. On the other side, Tang Lianxin was currently using all her power to break the forbid dance. Against the obstruction of the Ice Spirit Snow Soul flying swords, the 5-star Great Void Golden Lotus was only barely holding out. Suddenly, Queen Lady of Ice formed a hand seal. The Ice Spirit Snow Soul flying swords spun into a sword array, collapsing like a mountain of ice. Countless icicles sprouted from the ground. And Suan and Tang Lianxin were cold enough that their lips were directly chapped. The efficacious star repeatedly threw out golden pellets. These golden pellets sprinkled a warm light like a talisman, making things just a bit easier for them. Why do you follow that man? Queen Lady of Ice saw that the pair completely powerless star generals had such awe-inspiring willpower. That ice-cold face was slightly stirred. Do you not know that Purple Thunder Monster is merely exploiting you all? Queen Lady of Ice merely treated the efficacious star and the solitary star before her as not having signed a contract with Su Xing and asked. And Suan grunted and did not answer. The star crest on her forehead flashed. The child and mother-linked heart's needles flew out. Queen Lady of Ice's magic energy pushed. The Aurora bottle and the cold immortal sword's might was even fiercer. The swimming speed of the 10,000 essence swallowing dragons became snail-like in pace. Could it be you would rather die in his place? Queen Lady of Ice said again. Her eyes flashed with blue light. Suan has already given her life to Big Brother. And Suan resolutely answered, pointing her hand. The child and mother-linked heart's needles suddenly stuck into her own body, making her own ice-cold consciousness suddenly clear. Queen Lady of Ice's brows sunk. After all, she naturally practiced the Ice Mind chant. How could a word or two move her to pity? Seeing Suan so resolute, she slightly nodded in admiration. A flame of biting cold suddenly rushed out. When Tang Lianxin saw Suan could not last, she summoned the Great Sun Essence Butterfly. Opening its mouth, Great Sun Essence fire flowed from its 7 apertures. The Great Void Golden Lotus received the baptism of the Great Sun Essence fire, and its light was even more fierce, unexpectedly repelling the Ice Spirit Snow Soul swords. The pale white mist had a hole burned into it. Dark rank technique, misfortune turns to fortune. The Great Sun Essence fire was one of the extreme yang fires. This sudden combustion burned back Queen Lady of Ice's powers. The ice-cold palace's snow and ice melted, a return to spring. However, this misfortune turns to fortune was only a special move Tang Lianxin used to forge weapons. After all, using it in combat was only a temporary measure. Queen Lady of Ice retreated back. Just as she was preparing to exert 3 abilities at full power. Master, please stop. Just at this moment, a voice carrying slight worry penetrated the extremely cold air. A young girl whose clothes surpassed snow gracefully arrived, just like the Guanghan fairy. Gong Kai Wei. And together with Gong Kai Wei was leader Star Zhusha. Kai Wei, why have you come here? Queen Lady of Ice was startled. At this time, the stone-like girl Zhusha's expression changed. The 5 elements weather banner unfurled, releasing the heaven-earth 5 elements to protect Suan. Gong Xiwei's actions actually did not make Suan feel surprised at all. You, master, please listen to Kai Wei, stop. Gong Kai Wei gazed at that longevity stele without the slightest bit of interest. Queen Lady of Ice wrinkled her brow. This was the first time she had seen the cold as ice Gong Kai Wei show feelings like this. Queen Lady of Ice practiced the ice heart chant, but she was not an emotionless person. Although she was especially tempted by the longevity stele, she also knew now that the coordination and determination of the efficacious star and solitary star already were unable to be shaken. Tang Lianxin did not need a moment longer and took the longevity stele into her sack. The solitary star was not as warm as in Suwen. She stared intently at Gong Kai Wei. The expression of the gold coin-spotted leopard was truly vigilant as a leopard's. Kai Wei, what are you doing? Queen Lady of Ice said in a low voice. Actually, it was very simple why Gong Kai Wei had come. From the moment Queen Lady of Ice borrowed the Aurora bottle, Gong Kai Wei sensed that matters were fishy, but the 10 great sects had concealed the information about their encirclement of the Purple Thunder monster very thoroughly. Gong Kai Wei did not find any clues at all, only that the place they were surrounding was the Bright Moon Longevity Palace. This place was Prince Feng Wu's, the domain of Gong Kai Wei's father. A large flock of first-rate cultivators coming to this place naturally could not be concealed. Gong Kai Wei therefore rushed over because of this. She had trained at the Heavenly Ice Holy Palace ever since she lost her mother when she was young, treating Queen Lady of Ice as a mother, and she also had confusing feelings for Purple Thunder monster Su Xing. From the Flower Dragon Cave's dragon incident to the birth treasure outline and on through the life and death battle in Evil Smiting Hall, by all sorts of chance or perhaps by ill-fated coincidence, Su Xing had become the second person to have infiltrated her heart. On one side was Queen Lady of Ice, who was like a mother to her, and on the other was a close acquaintance? Gong Kai Wei did not want either side hurt the other at all, and it was precisely because of this that after Queen Lady of Ice arrived at the third palace, Gong Kai Wei had tailed her all this time, stepping forth now to intervene. What had happened inside naturally was a long story short. Gong Kai Wei did not answer Queen Lady of Ice's inquiry at all, but she earnestly looked at her. The warmth in the pupils of the Ice and Snow Girl was her best reply. Queen Lady of Ice slightly sighed. You will not regret this? Queen Lady of Ice confirmed. Gong Kai Wei gently grunted, not saying another word. Very well. Queen Lady of Ice waved a white finger. The cold air in the hall suddenly abated, and the temperature returned to normal. The Aurora bottle flew to Gong Kai Wei. Since this is yours, I will follow your decisions, but that Purple Thunder monster has provoked the most high path. I fear things are extremely dangerous. Gong Kai Wei nodded. Zhu Sha recalled the 5 elements weather banner. And Suwen and Tang Lianxin were astonished. They hastily ran out of the palace. Queen Lady of Ice allowed the 2 young girls to brush past her. In the moment their shoulders passed, that worried expression was clearly sincere, so genuine that this was not an expression a star general ought to have. Perhaps that Purple Thunder monster truly can change these star duels. But just who is he? Queen Lady of Ice turned around, contemplating. Outside the palace, a rainbow light suddenly flashed. 4th Palace. Please put down the longevity stele. A beautiful maid unhurriedly walked over from the outside of the palace, her gait graceful as if she's stepping on feathers, that was gentle and peaceful. Yen Chao of the Divine Flamesword sect was currently breaking the longevity steel's forbid dance. He turned his head to look at those copper-like pupils in front of him and could not help but be drawn in. Her flower crown, made clothes, exposed shoulder, her slender vermilion pupils. She truly was a beauty. Are you requesting this of me? Yen Chao flung his hand. 105 motifs, true fire flying swords burned in the air. The man calmly smiled. The maid stopped at a distance 50 meters away from the man, assuming an attack stance. Her fists glowed with the profound light of yin and yang. The sole deficiency was one carp swimming about that was nevertheless missing its other half, and that swimming carp very quickly fade away. The yin-yang Pisces fists. The famous skillful star wanderer. Your servant did not expect to have the fortune to meet you. Yen Chao nodded, muttering to himself. For that man to be able to have so many first-rate star generals truly makes one unable to not be envious. If you want the longevity steal, Yen Chao pointed to the longevity steal. Before he could finish, there was a bang. Dust flew, and Yen Yizhen's figure vanished. The 5 motifs true fire flying swords completely could not track her. Yen Chao already was sent flying by a punch. As a maid, you truly are very rude to guests. Yen Chao wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth, climbing up as if nothing had happened. Yen Yizhen was expressionless, her gaze glancing at her right hand. There was still a burning flame. Under that punch just now, she clearly felt a true fire on that man's body protect him, unexpectedly making her own punching force unable to break through. This man was not simple. Your servant has long wished to duel with a martial general. Yen Chao suddenly grinned. The 5 motifs true fire flying swords descended, entirely burning space, agitating a faint wind. Yen Chao formed a hand seal, and the surroundings were completely filled with resplendent red light. A bowl-sized red flame simultaneously bubbled forth. Yen Yizhen's figure swayed. She advanced through the suffocating flames. The maid's swiftness made the flying swords miss each time. Yen Chao ceased his frivolity, and his expression became stern. He extended a hand, and the bowl-sized 5 motifs divine flame linked together into a line. Whatever this 5 motifs divine flame touched became ashes. Immediately, Yen Chao turned around and flew towards the longevity steel. The flames wailed. Yen Chao turned his head back to look and inwardly cursed. A large hole had been torn out of the true fire. The apathetic maid astonishingly rushed out of the gap. The 4-star Yin-Yang Pisces fists had extinguished the 5 motifs divine flame with just one punch. Yen Chao hastily retreated, the flying swords protecting him. He took out a magic weapon, raised it towards the sky, and a fire rope became a fire dragon that burned towards the Yen Yizhen pouncing at him. This ardent dragon rope was dragon muscle Yen Chao gathered from an ardent fire dragon refined using true fire. He used the 5 motifs divine flame to forge it, injected it with the ardent fire dragon's true spirit, and it possessed practically psychic capabilities. It was the magic weapon that Yen Chao was most proud of. It often showed its usefulness in every encounter with a dangerous foe. The ardent dragon rope manifested a fire dragon true spirit that bit at Yen Yizhen. Yen Yizhen quickly evaded. This ardent dragon rope did not require control from the cultivator and was capable of automatically tracking its target. Any way Yen Yizhen dodged, it followed closely behind without losing her. After several breaths, the ardent dragon rope roared and thoroughly stopped Yen Yizhen. Not only was the rope capable of trapping her, the rope itself also released 5 motifs true fire that burned. You have only this bit of ability? How mediocre! Yen Chao saw that the skillful star was trapped by the ardent dragon rope. He extended a hand, and the 5 motifs true fire flying sword simultaneously slashed, the firelight encircling Yen Yizhen, sword light shooting everywhere. Yen Chao's pride did not continue for too long. Suddenly, his eyes were dazzled. The maid's beautiful figure was inconceivably right in front of him. So quick. Yen Chao was stunned. The ardent dragon rope's sole flaw was that it could not thoroughly lock down the opponent's body. After all, this trap magic weapon was refined from dragon muscle. So long as some brilliant escape technique was used, most could escape, but what Yen Chao did not expect was for the skillful star to surprisingly have such excellent escape techniques. Yen Yizhen's eyes were ice cold, and the fists of Yin and Yen followed suit. Her boxing technique was unleashed. Yen Chao circulated his cultivation method, and his body turned a thorough red, like red-hot iron. Bearing Yen Yizhen's swallow flash samsara, this Yen Chao was one of the divine flame sword sect's first-rate ancestral masters. He trained in the 9 Yang True Chant. 2. This cultivation method trained to its limit could temper the user's body to be as solid as iron. It was because of this that Yen Chao could be so calm and unhurried facing the famous skillful star's boxing arts. The two of them attacked for several breaths without disengaging. Yen Chao was chopped several times by Yen Yizhen's attacks when he finally spotted a gap. He chanted, and the flying swords burst with flame, suddenly pervasive. The fire's power magnified, and Yen Chao's only thoughts were on making things difficult for this detached maid. He circulated his divine fire powers to burn Yen Yizhen's clothing. Yen Yizhen flipped backwards and sent a punch behind her. The wind from her fist was chilly, like a wild gust blowing, dispersing the flames. This protected the clothes on her body. What a pity! Yen Chao clicked his tongue. He chuckled. If you allow your servant to see your naked body, your servant will not mind giving this longevity steel to you. Yen Yizhen recoiled backwards, expressionlessly facing his provocation. If you will not consider it, then that is your loss. Yen Chao's seemingly frivolous grin hid a grave feeling. His hands formed a hand seal, and he read an incantation. Suddenly, the 105 motifs true fire flying swords spun in a clump, changing into a sword array. 10-sided execution fire sword array. 3. There was an intense blaze and rolling smoke, filling the skies and covering the earth. The flying swords flashed continuously, scarlet light dancing in Yen Yizhen's surroundings that encircled her from all directions, leaving only Yen Yizhen in the middle. In all directions, there were only flames and smoke. They simultaneously threw themselves at Yen Yizhen, leaving her with no place to hide. Yen Yizhen saw the sword array attack. Without any fear, she coldly snorted. Her fists clenched and waved up and down, as if she was drawing the taiji. A yin and yang pattern appeared on her fists. The flames were intense, black clouds rolled, and this practically completely enveloped Yen Yizhen. Yen Chao could not see any movements inside and worried that Yen Yizhen was counterattacking. He fished out countless heavenly thunderbolts from his astral bag and threw them. Suddenly, he saw the flaming sword array explode with a thunder crack, seemingly rumbling like thunder. This heavenly thunderbolt was one of 13 items that low-level cultivators often used to kill high-level cultivators. In fact, up until supercluster late stage, the heavenly thunderbolts were already completely harmless in Yen Chao's perspective, but Yen Chao had always successfully and smoothly killed people using the heavenly thunderbolts ever since he had begun cultivating. Even after he had become an ancestral master of the divine flame sword sect, he still carried them around. He unexpectedly had 1,000 of them. For 1,000 heavenly thunderbolts to smash down, this was no small matter. Even a supercluster cultivator would find it hard to avoid difficulty facing this. Countless thunderclaps struck like a string of pearls, exploding upon her, deafening. The explosions were such that the flames were about to be extinguished. The yin-yang light rocketed into the sky. There was a bang as if something had cracked. Yen Chao was stunned. The giant array of fire that covered the sky retreated. The maid stood in the middle without batting an eyelid. Let alone any wounds, her clothes were unexpectedly completely intact, and on Yen Yizhen's hands astonishingly appeared the swimming yin-yang carps. The 1,000 heavenly thunderbolts and the 10-sided execution fire sword array were unexpectedly broken. How is this possible, to surprisingly be not harmed in the slightest? Yen Chao's smile suddenly froze. He did not hesitate to bite open his fingertip, using his blood to write something in the air. Afterwards, he took out 2 crimson talismans. The 2 crimson talismans shredded, becoming 2 scarlet ribbons that rolled towards Yen Yizhen. The ribbons resonated with a loud sound, endlessly pouring into the ears. The ardent dragon rope also followed. In spite of the clap of thunder, Yen Yizhen changed her boxing technique. Her stance was calm and tranquil, gentle and light would be an understatement in describing it. Red light flashed on her hand, and then she grabbed. The 2 crimson fire ribbons were grabbed in Yen Yizhen's hands like lengths of rope. She twisted and pulled, reeling them in and then ripped apart the ribbons. Yen Chao stared dumbstruck. His first heavenly execution fire talisman was surprisingly destroyed so easily, but what was even more surprising came after. The ardent dragon rope turned into a fire dragon that once again constricted Yen Yizhen. This time, the maid caught the fire dragon with both hands without even looking. Pulling and tearing with yin and yen, she unexpectedly ripped the ardent dragon rope in half. Bang, just like severed bowstring. Yen Yizhen was like a monster as she drew near him. This was her dark rank technique, Snapped bowstring magnolia lily ballad. Snapped bowstring magnolia lily ballad could terminate the opponent's technique. To tear apart something like this with the extreme realm of the yin-yang carps naturally was easily done. Fuck. Yen Chao was shocked as if he had seen a ghost. He hastily circulated the 9-yang true chant to resist. Yen Chao was slammed repeatedly backwards by Yen Yizhen's boxing. The 4-star destined weapons boxing made Yen Chao nearly vomit blood. Do not look down on your servant. Yen Chao was infuriated, his eyes completely red. Flames rushed beside the two, obscuring the fight within the flames, which was simply fast to the point of astonishing. Although Yen Chao looked like the difference between his and the skillful star's martial prowess was considerably vast, it was hard to imagine the two unexpectedly could trade blows for more than 10 bouts. Conflagration 5 Prairie Fires. Yen Chao's punch struck, using a Conflagration Sky 9 chapters. 5. The Conflagration Sky 9 chapters was a punching art cultivation method, slightly able to contend against Yen Yizhen. How could the ancestral master of the Divine Flame Sword sect concede defeat? He punched, piercing space like a sword. Before Yen Chao's shock could end, suddenly, Yen Yizhen hooked his arm. The maid's seemingly gentle fist connected a punch with Yen Chao's chest. The power of cold yin penetrated his body, making Yen Chao's brow contort. But Yen Chao's 9-yang true chant's power made Yen Yizhen's expression change. When she landed this punch, Yen Chao unexpectedly did not move at all. Conflagration 6 Blazes Destruction. 6. Yen Chao's right fist pounded. This punch's speed was beyond normal, booming towards Yen Yizhen's head. The maid blocked with her left hand, immediately withdrew her foot and quickly left his attack range. The maid's slender pupils released the presence of danger, the yin-yang fists stirring menacingly. Damn it! Yen Chao was alarmed. Another Conflagration 6 Blazes Destruction. His punch's flames were like a blade, cutting everything. I was waiting for this. Yen Yizhen's eyes showed faint light. The skillful star of brilliant techniques faced the cultivator's punch, and the latter was undoubtedly an amateur in front of an expert. The distance of a dozen meters between them was crossed in a single step. Yen Yizhen avoided the flame blade, and then she drew near Yen Chao's flank. Yen Chao was already too late to use a flying sword, so he promptly withdrew. A magic weapon flew out. Yen Yizhen leaned, swiftly moving close against the ground, avoiding the flying swords and flames, scuttling in front of Yen Chao like a snake, as if she had foreseen Yen Chao's reactions. One punch landed on his chest. The ripping pain made Yen Chao's expression twist. His red hand was just about to use the Conflagration 8 Burns Heaven in competition. But the flames ended before they even began. Yen Yizhen's fists suddenly shaped like blades, directly sticking into a person's weakest spot, the armpits. The maid's hands came together, quick to the extreme. Yen Chao hurt practically into unconsciousness as his underarms were shattered. The two lights of cold and warmth stuck into his body, leaving him in so much pain he wished to die. Yin-yang palm. Yen Yizhen shook her hand. The yin-yang's shattered light crumbled like dust. Although Yen Chao wielded the 9-yang true chant with power, the yin-yang palm chop's cold and warm forces still made him suffer unbearably, particularly in his shattered underarms. Does your master have you serve guests like this? Yen Chao grimaced, still not changing his inherent personality. She suddenly vanished. Yen Yizhen attacked. True fire flying swords were knocked aside by her unstoppable punches. Yen Chao retreated backwards, hiding his body. He suddenly sneered, flipped his wrist, and with a thump, a fist-sized ball of light shot out of his astral bag. It spiraled into Yen Chao's hand, revealing a simple and unadorned fan. This fan was only a few centimeters large, was shaped like a wand with crimson feathers. The talisman script on it was dense, layered on top of each other. A slightly swaying red halo spun indeterminately, and countless scripts manifested one after another, making those who looked directly at it dizzy. Seeing Yen Yizhen's power was like a mad flood, he knew he had no way to compete. He did not dare be arrogant. He formed a hand seal, and after the crimson light flashed, the fan's light suddenly magnified, becoming several chi large. Yen Chao gripped the fan in one hand, concentrated all of his magic energy and aimed the fan ruthlessly at the approaching Yen Yizhen. The erosion of the magic energy of his whole body was even more excessive than before. Yen Chao stared blankly, but he did not think too much. He fanned the fan, giving Yen Yizhen a big grin. If you do not run, then you must be prepared for your clothes to be all burned away by your servant's burning one divine flame fan. Ha! Burning one divine flame fan. This was also one of the magic weapons that Yen Chao was proud of. Prehistoric magic weapons had an extremely powerful 7 feathers karma fire fan refined from 7 types of prehistoric fire-type divine beasts, and one of the 7 was the burning one that Yen Chao comprehended from the 7 feathers karma fire fan. He refined only the burning one. Although the martial force was inferior in power, it was still far more formidable than Zhao Heng's 7 feathers karma fire fan. Yen Chao's firelight flowed, blowing a faint wind. His whole body seemed to be aflame. After the red Luan divine flame fan cried, that scarlet as jade light immediately concentrated and changed shape. Then, the fan suddenly trembled, and the feathers spurted forth with flames. Immediately afterwards, all of the flames concentrated towards the middle, unexpectedly transforming directly into a zhang-sized firebird. This was the burning one. The burning one emerged. Flames covered the sky and earth, and a powerful faint wind made Yen Yizhen's cold and detached pupils show an abnormality. Then, Yen Chao again extended his hand. The 105 motifs true fire flying swords simultaneously danced. All of the flying swords suddenly released flames, dancing with lightning speed, becoming a flower of flame that blossomed in Yen Yizhen's surroundings. It complemented the burning wand considerably well, making Yen Yizhen's figure submerge within. 8-sided heavenly fire array. 2. But Yen Chao was not done at all. He opened his mouth, and a lotus flower flew out. This treasure was the Karma Fire Lotus Flower, a treasure. It had undergone Yen Chao's refinement and became a powerful magic weapon. The Karma Fire Lotus Flower unfurled under Yen Chao's feet, making Yen Chao appear as if he was stepping on the lotus. The opened petals sprayed out a dark red light. This red light hastened under his hand seals, spiraling around Yen Chao with telepathic speed. The thin-as-hair red light sparked, with an abnormally loud noise. It interwove into a net, becoming a Karma Fire Lotus Flower barrier. A luminous light flashed upon it, protecting Yen Chao completely within. As the first-rate ancestral master of the Divine Flame Sword sect, Yen Chao naturally had the resources to be lofty. The Burning Wand Divine Flame Fan added onto the 8-sided Heavenly Fire Sword array, and finally, along with the Karma Fire Lotus Flower protecting him, Yen Chao practically had exhausted all of his most powerful techniques. He did not believe that a star general could be unbridled against them. As expected, Yen Yizhen defended with her fists, already stepping back in the face of these fireworks. To not be able to see your naked body truly is a pity. Yen Chao laughed aloud, turning around and flying towards the longevity steel. Not a moment later, he broke the longevity steel's forbid dance and took the longevity steel into his palm. Yen Chao's heart was thrilled. At this moment, he turned his head to look. The burning wand divine flame fans might had already practically burned the palace to nothing. Black, ugly scorch marks were left everywhere. In this ugly scenery, there was a woman who was particularly beautiful. She leaned where she stood, her maid clothes clearly mostly destroyed. Barely anything covered her body. In this black hall of destruction that extended as far as the eye could see, the woman's white skin was especially eye-catching, particularly that plum blossom tattoo on her back, so beautiful it was stifling. Yen Yizhen could barely defend against the burning wand divine flame fan and the heavenly fire sword array's might. After all, this was used by a supercluster peak ancestral master. As far as Yen Yizhen was concerned, this still was no small trouble. Yen Chao clicked his tongue, somewhat regretful he could not see that naked body, but that half-concealed scene actually made him pleased. He wanted to indulge in his fantasies, but the maid's cold and detached eyes honestly made Yen Chao very disappointed. That practically was a gaze looking at a dead person, a gaze without any feeling at all. As a female servant, your expression honestly is very short of the standard. Yen Chao sneered. He played with the longevity steel in his hand. Without the aid of her contractor, against the current skillful star, he held the advantage. Naturally, this was enough time to carefully appreciate his praised dejected expression. To be able to make a star general's tarnished with ash and dirt was even more satisfying than the longevity steel. Right now, the great treasure is already in my hands. It seems you will be unable to complete your master's orders. Yen Chao cast a sidelong glance at her. He showed a ruminating and shameless smile. Do you want it? Compared to the longevity steel, your servant is even more fond of looking at a star general's naked body, particularly yours, skillful star. As long as you obediently remove your remaining clothes and allow this ancestor to carefully admire you, this longevity steel is yours with no trouble. Yen Yizhen's vermilion pupils appeared to be even more scorching than the flames. You are already dead now. Skillful star wanderer spat out 5 ice-cold words. Yen Chao was taken aback. He laughed aloud. I could not tell that you were capable of jokes, Yen Chao. Just as Yen Chao was about to praise her with a not bad, before he could utter the phrase, he suddenly noticed that his body was emitting the 2 kinds of pain of ice-cold and scorching fire. As if there was something flowing inside his body. Yen Chao's whole body stooped over, and not bad, immediately became dread, complete despair, not possible. Yen Yizhen's palms gently trembled. One carp of cold yin and another carp of orange burst out of Yen Chao's chest from within his body. In a split second, half of Yen Chao's body was on fire, and the other was ice. Yen Chao looked at Yen Yizhen in astonishment, finally understanding what had happened. At the moment yin-yang palm cut into Yen Chao's body, Yen Yizhen injected him with the resurrected yin-yang carps at the same time in passing. The more Yen Chao used his magic energy to exhaustion, the more he nurtured the yin-yang carps. The result was that by the time Yen Chao unleashed his full power with 3 types of powers, he had just fell into Yen Yizhen's trap, to borrow Yen Chao's magic energy to restore the carps to their originally complete state. And at this moment, Yen Chao naturally was a fish on the chopping block waiting to be slaughtered. Skillful star wanderer indeed did not tell jokes. Harboring this despair, Yen Chao reached his end just like this. The yin-yang carps cheerfully swam around Yen Yizhen's fists. The corner of Yen Yizhen's lips could not help but curl in a near imperceptible smile. With the longevity steel in hand, Yen Yizhen discarded her destroyed maid clothes, revealing her absolutely beautiful jade body. Each curve of her body was sufficient to take away someone's breath. A pity that this supercluster ancestor had died with unfinished desire and was unable to see. Yen Yizhen changed into a new maid dress. The skillful star's eyes concentrated, catching sight of the rainbow light outside the window. At the 5th palace, the lifeless hall's ancestor longevity was currently very pressured. His complexion was ashen, his body seemingly pinned by a giant mountain unable to draw breath. 99 coping with undergoing rebirth swords, 5, became a black abyss. These normally swaggering flying swords currently followed Ancestor Longevity's heart and constantly shuddered, as if they were being suppressed by something. And the one to make the Azure Dragon Territory's famous Ancestor Longevity to be so pressured was none other than an exceedingly refined little girl. Gong Sun Huang wore the phoenix perch red cloud clothes, and a multicolored light glowed on her body, superbly respectable. The 3-star pine brand ancient sword in her hand floated above the longevity steel. Just like a fairy who had descended into the mundane world from the 9 firmaments. Just her domineering aura made Ancestor Longevity feel heavy. As the most powerful in magic energy, Gong Sun Huang's magic made Ancestor Longevity witness her power. The pine brand ancient sword moved. Multicolored light seemingly flew out, easily inhibiting the coping with undergoing rebirth swords. Ancestor Longevity raised 2 attack magic weapons but was completely unable to break her phoenix perch red cloud's clothes. At this time, this truly made Ancestor Longevity embarrassed to death. Gong Sun Huang's eyes showed a sort of deep tranquility. That gaze was extremely elegant. Those who felt inferior would probably feel like ants in her eyes, and this was what Ancestor Longevity thought, his heart truly very vexed. Seeing Leisure Star Dragon in the clouds break the longevity steal in no rush at all, this made Ancestor Longevity worried even more. Gong Sun Sheng, this old man shall come consult with you, the one famed to be #1 in magic energy. Ancestor Longevity spat out a mouthful of black qi. This black qi condensed into the shape of a giant sword. The sword's body was darkness, flowing black qi. This was the magic weapon that Ancestor Longevity was proud of, life-breaking sword. This sword's talisman script flowed, the tadpole-sized black and abnormal script endlessly revolving, emitting a frightening light. The life-breaking sword's most powerful aspect was that even if the opponent possessed powerful defensive magic weapons, so long as those were cut by the sword, they would similarly suffer damage like their life-cast magic weapons. Ancestor Longevity already settled on the idea to use the life-breaking sword to first make Gong Sun Huang lose her calm. To be looked at like this by a 7 to 8-year-old little girl truly made the Ancestor Longevity who had lived for so long very upset. Afterwards, he would use the Yellow Spring Sword Array to send this Leisure Star on a journey. Gong Sun Huang was still dispassionate. She pointed the Pine-brand ancient sword. She activated a dark rank star magic. Thunderclap in Evening Breeze. 6. Gong Sun Huang had many magics, but those that could complement Heaven Earth Dark Yellow were all powerful spells. This, Thunderclap in Evening Breeze, was a new dark rank that Leisure Star Dragon in the Clouds could use while wearing the Phoenix Perch Red Cloud's clothes. Although it was not as tyrannical as Half-Destroyed Landscape, it was still overbearing nonetheless. After a boom, the Pine-brand ancient sword suddenly displayed an astral wind. This astral wind turned from small to big, from thin to wide. In the blink of an eye, it became an astonishing hurricane of a heaven-supporting pillar. At nearly the same time the astral wind took shape, the topmost part boomed with thunder, and silver arcs of astral wind of varying thickness flickered and jumped, wrapping the powerful hurricane. Under the rook, near the astral wind, the wind roared like a tidal wave. Countless wind blades began to indistinctly take shape. The entire space was full of flying sand and stone, dimming the sky and earth. There was a rumbling, loud noise everywhere, as if it was about to shake apart the main hall. The originally brilliant hall instantly sunk into dusk. Ancestor Longevity was startled. The girl before him appeared calm and collected, yet her mind was terrifyingly meticulous, completely leaving no leeway. Ancestor Longevity activated magic weapons and abilities, covering himself in dazzling green light from head to foot. A layer of protection appeared that enveloped him within. Thunderclap in Evening Breeze suddenly surged even larger. Everything before Ancestor Longevity's eyes was already obscured by the thunderclap and the astral wind. His magic weapon had been blown even harder, as if they were little in a perfect storm. They appeared incomparably tiny. The immense rumbling crushed the green light which cracked. Ancestor Longevity's heart chilled, and he controlled the rebirth swords to protect him. He tightly shut his lips and continuously formed hand seals, his expression very pale. Under Gong Sun Huang's urging, Thunderclap in Evening Breeze suddenly roared. Like opened floodgates, the power that erupted in that instant cultivators practically as experienced as Ancestor Longevity would feel fear for the first time. Rolls of thunder rumbled, blades of wind rolled, covering him in dense numbers, making his innards seem to split. At this moment, Ancestor Longevity seemed to see his own world crumble. His magic weapons shattered in the blink of an eye, and several layers of his defenses disintegrated, and he seemed to have lost his 5 senses. A screaming whistle filled his ears, and his eyes saw only thunder and lightning, pale wind blades, and even his divine sense was unable to take a half step away. The moment anything left his protection, it was instantly blown to dust by the evil wind and thunder. So frightening. Ancestor Longevity's heart was cold. He now finally could be considered to know why Leisure Star Dragon in the Clouds was the star general that was #1 in magic energy. Magic like this completely could crush the magic weapons of a cultivator. This was still a 3-star destined weapon. If it was a grade higher, perhaps it could match a prehistoric spirit treasure. Ancestor Longevity had the thought to retreat, but upon recalling that the legendary longevity cultivation method was right before his eyes, his heart was particularly unwilling to give up. A big reason he was addressed by others as Ancestor Longevity was because he had consumed many life-extending holy fruits that would make anyone jealous. Ancestor Longevity's talent was far from comparison to other cultivators, but relying on his far superior supercluster cultivator's life energy, he still made a name for himself and became an ancestral master of the lifeless hall. But now that Ancestor Longevity's life energy was already nearing its limit, the longevity steel's manifestation practically was a chance bestowed by the heavens. How could Ancestor Longevity give up for nothing? However, it was a pity that he came to this bright moon longevity palace unaware that the purple thunder monster would unexpectedly solve and summon the longevity steel. Otherwise, Ancestor Longevity would definitely have brought the 6 paths plate and the sect-protecting treasure, Yellow Springs lifeless diagram. 2. Now was already too late for resentment. Facing Gong Sun Huang's thunderclap in Evening Breeze's tyrannical pressure, Ancestor Longevity used all his strength. His attack methods already were suppressed into a defense, like a turtle withdrawing into its shell. The rolls of thunder were increasingly severe, rumbling so that Ancestor Longevity vomited blood. His expression changed. The creaking and cracking sounds from the protection above were increasingly louder and louder, and for the purpose of maintaining this protection, his magic energy's ebb was clearly more severe than before. The might of the Leisure Star's magic could surprisingly still become incessantly stronger. This was the dark rank technique of the number 1 magic energy star general. This was too abnormal. How could Ancestor Longevity have known that the full power defense he had staked made Gong Sun Huang greatly surprised? Seeing her first wave of thunderclap in Evening Breeze unexpectedly not pulverize her target, Gong Sun Huang did not hesitate to use it a second time. Having consumed by Yutong's seemingly drunk and stupefied, the little lowly's execution was never sloppy. Gong Sun Huang bluntly used her dark rank magic. When the second wave of thunderclap in Evening Breeze squeezed down, the battle now already had completely changed into whoever could last the longest. Ancestor Longevity felt his body was increasingly weary. Several dozen of his life-cast flying swords were already destroyed, leaving him inwardly depressed. He took a deep breath, subconsciously glancing down, searching for another method. Perhaps he could escape into the ground? The moment this idea appeared, at a place several zhang to the side of where he was, he spotted a black twister. Thunder scuttled into the sky from under the ground, quickly swelling and spinning. Suddenly, a suction force came from above. A green light covering unexpectedly could not help but involuntarily move quickly towards the tornado. Ancestor Longevity's heart shivered. Magic energy concentrated from head to toe into a light covering. Only then did he barely regain traction. Immediately, a dozen black sword lights shot out of the light barrier, spinning around the light barrier and flickering as they interwove. Under the crisscrossing of the sword chi, he clashed with the approaching thundering tornado. Ancestor Longevity only felt that time passed more slowly than the entire lifetime he had lived. Seeing he was unable to continue, Ancestor Longevity already had the idea to retreat. Just at this moment, the clouds broke and revealed the sun. The palace recovered its calm and clarity. The thunder and the astral wind finally stopped. The suffering ended. Ancestor Longevity suddenly glimpsed hope. The old man laughed, and just as he was about to say something bold, he looked up then and his smile stiffened. Gong Sun Huang walked in the sky. The longevity steel beneath her feet had long been shrunken down and then fell into the palm of her hand. Gong Sun Huang's consecutive use of 2 thunderclap in Evening Breeze was not because she was bored, but because she did not want anyone to disturb her as she took the longevity steel. While Ancestor Longevity was still struggling, Gong Sun Huang easily picked up the longevity steel. Kill! Ancestor Longevity shouted indignantly. The life-breaking sword became a black light that swiftly slashed. Gong Sun Huang let the life-breaking sword attack. She used a wind rolls the clouds, and then the new heavenly phoenix also appeared, trapping Ancestor Longevity. Ancestor Longevity knew he lost the advantage when he saw this. To stay any longer, other than giving the opponent experience, was completely meaningless. After his fury, Ancestor Longevity immediately became more clear-headed than anyone. He used a divine talisman he had prepared beforehand to become black fog, escaping completely. Ancestor Longevity was able to live this long. His ability to flee with his life was very formidable. Gong Sun Huang's divine intent scanned. Seeing that Ancestor Longevity had truly left, only then did she relax her guard. She lowered her brow to gaze curiously at the rich, jade-like longevity steel in her hand. It glowed with a beautiful rainbow light. Gong Sun Huang raised her head, her pupils slightly alarmed. His Highness. In the first palace, Lin Yingmei easily killed the supercluster middle stage Ancestor Wanli. In the second palace, Wu Xinjie dispatched Xian Jinzi with room to spare. In the third palace, Suwen and Tang Lianxin's teamwork also obtained that longevity steel from Queen Lady of Ice. In the fourth palace, Yan Yizhen used an absolutely inconceivable technique to crush Yan Chao, for him to die with regrets. In this fifth palace, Leisure Star little lowly Gong Sun Huang's thunderclap in evening breeze indeed suppressed Ancestor Longevity completely like a roll of thunder. In the first 5 palaces, the 5-3-star maidens had things easy. But in this 6th palace, Zhang Yuqi had but met with a big problem. Why should a woman make things difficult for a woman? Zhang Yuqi's white water mirror heart glinted, and a wild bee butterfly wave roared out. A gorgeously dressed female cultivator sneered. She raised her palm. Wind descended, a fluttering, poisonous wind. Flying swords easily broke the wild bee butterfly wave. The Urgent Sea's white spirit python drew a white light and bit. The shifting flower sword sex fairy Yingsu disdainfully glanced at her, using a poppy without poison ability. Blooming poppy flowers simultaneously blossomed in the Urgent Sea's white spirit python's surroundings. The poison scent wafted, confusing the Urgent Sea's white spirit python into not knowing left from right. Zhang Yuqi was inherently a water general. In water, her techniques naturally were fearless when facing supercluster cultivators, but this bright moon longevity palace had nothing at all to offer her. The magic she used was greatly debilitated. Zhang Yuqi was not like her sister, who was versed in martial arts as well. Against the supercluster late-stage fairy Yingsu, she truly was at a disadvantage. Young Su, Yuqi being alone is but somewhat difficult. Zhang Yuqi sighed. White stripe in the waves, tactfully retreat from this immortal. This immortal only wants this longevity steel and will absolutely not make things difficult for you and your master. Fairy Yingsu shouted. Why should a woman make things difficult for a woman? Zhang Yuqi giggled. Although she was somewhat in a difficult situation, her mouth nevertheless did not concede defeat. You star generals are only little girls in this immortal's eyes. Fairy Yingsu's mouth was also venomous, surreptitiously mocking that star generals could not lose their virginity. Zhang Yuqi giggled. Yuqi does not want to become just a pretty face, so to think of having Yuqi leave, that truly can't be done. Then you are courting death. Fairy Yingsu sneered. She extended a hand towards her astral stone. A clump of multicolored poison smoke flew out. This smoke dispersed to reveal a giant serpent. This python's whole body was a dark red, covered in odd flower patterns. Its bucket-like girth required 2 adults to be able to wrap around it. Its dark red as blood snakeskin was not only shiny as a mirror, it could also seemingly fly across any surface. Strange stripes extended from the snake's tail, spiraling up to its head and concentrating into an odd flower mark. This flower mark's center had 2 horns. Duluo flower-marked python. 5. Zhang Yuqi shouted to herself that this was abnormal, immediately recognizing this viper's background. The Duoluo flower-marked python was an ancient python that was not inferior to the Urgent Sea's white spirit python. It spat multicolored poison fog, decaying all it touched. Yuchi never expected that the Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators would surprisingly raise such a poisonous thing. Zhang Yuqi's white water mirror heart released a ray of clear blue light, destroying the attacking poison smoke. This duo luo flower-marked python was considerably difficult to raise. She truly did not understand how the Azure Dragon Territory could have such a formidable cultivator without an inhospitable place. Fairy Yingsu disdainfully smiled. How could Zhang Yuqi have known that the Shifting Flower Sword sect originally hailed from the Vermilion Bird Territory? That place had a world of poison, every sort of venomous snake and bug were normal animals. It was not strange for supercluster late-stage peak cultivators like Fairy Yingsu to rear a venomous snake. If it was not for carrying this venomous snake taking much of her energy, Fairy Yingsu perhaps could have time to break through to Supervoid stage. This duoluo flower-marked python heavily bit, opening its maw wide, shooting out a pervasive multicolored poison smoke, wrapping the hall in an odd color. It appeared exceptionally enchanting. Zhang Yuqi continuously used star magic to evade. One fierce lunge of the duoluo flower-marked python was about to constrict Zhang Yuqi when the Urgent Sea's white spirit python charged forth and entangled this flower-marked snake. Zhang Yuqi was too late to sense the pressure. Fairy Yingsu's flying swords at this point slashed without leaving gaps. Although the poison-colored flying swords could not compare to the sword chants of the Azure Dragon Territory in might, these flying swords similarly were forged from highly toxic materials. The sword's edge was dipped in multicolored poison and could not easily be touched. White stripe in the waves, Zhang Yuqi leapt like a fish, like a jumping mermaid. Her two golden ponytails unfurled, and the girl drew a gorgeous arc as she evaded the obstruction of the flying swords. Since you do not want to become just a pretty face, then this palace shall come break you, to make you clearly look at yourself. Fairy Yingsu saw that the white stripe in the waves was this awe-inspiring, and the woman's envy flared. Her wrist flipped. A 5-colored bottle gourd appeared. Seeing the gorgeous coloring of this gourd, dazzling, Zhang Yuqi knew what was inside from just a glance. The most poisonous is a woman's heart. Do you have to lay such a saying so bare? Zhang Yuqi very powerlessly said. After the pouring calamity bottle gourd rots your face into ugliness, will your master still want you? 6. Fairy Yingsu maliciously smiled, her expression clearly saying, I envy you, now die. The gourd poured a stream of multicolored poisonous smoke that pounced towards the damaged star. At this moment, Zhang Yuqi already had no place to run. The pouring calamity bottle gourd sprayed multicolored poison fog. The thick and seemingly substantive multicolored poison fog circled around with a pungent fish stench, making Zhang Yuqi dizzy and lightheaded. Encircled from all sides by the poison fog, she could not see her hands in front of her. Before the poison smoke had seized her, Zhang Yuqi already was retching in disgust, her heart alarmed. The white water mirror heart became a white light that protected her, repelling the poison fog more than a chi away from her own body. This pouring calamity bottle gourd was refined from every sort of poisonous thing that Fairy Yingsu had gathered. In the multicolored poison smoke that filled the air, there were every sort of colored poison bugs flying about, miasma picked from every deep forest and mountain, in addition to 5 kinds of highly toxic bug venom, combined with similarly toxic goo. After infection, a person would feel powerless, and their skin would gradually fester. At this time, the goo would enter the body and gnaw on flesh, yet the person would not immediately die. They would be able to see the goo eat their own body clean, and during this process, the person was unable to move, unable to speak. They would endure boundless torment and pain whilst they were still alive. This was the world's cruelest form of torture. The rolling multicolored poison wrapped around Zhang Yuqi. The white light was devoured by the toxins and began to weaken. Zhang Yuqi's expression was pained. This was not good. When Fairy Yingsu saw that the pouring calamity bottle gourd had trapped the damaged star, she sneered. She then flew towards the longevity steel. Just as Fairy Yingsu was about to break the forbid dance, 2 puppets suddenly appeared behind the longevity steel. The 2 puppets opened their mouths and shot 2 beams of light. Fairy Yingsu waved her sleeve, but she was still knocked back. Fairy Ingsu felt disbelief. She turned her head back to look at the pouring calamity bottle gourd's multicolored poison smoke was still endlessly pouring into the surroundings. It was reasonable to say that even if that damaged star did not die, she ought to have suffered disfigurement? Fairy Ingsu recalled the bottle gourd. The pervasive poison smoke dispersed, yet she saw a ball of dazzling white light. Another young girl had appeared inside the white light at some unknown time. Huh. Shi Yuan. Zhang Yuqi did not expect this. Shi Yuan used the new Hua Jade, and 100 zhang white light completely avoided the multicolored poison smoke. The thief star pursed her lips. Sister Xinjie said you alone perhaps wouldn't be able to face a supercluster cultivator. Just let this young lady help you, don't misunderstand. Zhang Yuqi giggled. She knew that because of her accidental encounter in Evil Smiting Hall when she caught sight of Shi Yuan and Su Xing's secret matters, Shi Yuan had always been somewhat brooding. Yuqi thanks little sister. No need. So you rely on the insignificant thief star. Fairy Ingsu said. Don't underestimate this young lady. Shi Yuan waved the puppet banner. More than a dozen giant puppets appeared. Shi Yuan had originally thought of unleashing the 5 poisons puppets, but upon seeing Fairy Ingsu's battle formation was in of itself 5 poisons, she could only dismiss this idea. At the same time she released the puppets, she also raised a dozen spider web talismans. These talismans sprinkled in the air and became a giant net that covered the sky, moving to enshroud Fairy Ingsu. It was a pity that the 1,000 layers 10,000 calamities web had been destroyed when they faced Chan Master Jia Yi in the Buddhist kingdom. Although this spiderweb talisman was a high-grade talisman, it was far from as effective in facing a supercluster late-stage cultivator as the 10,000 calamities web. Fairy Ingsu wore a sneer on her face. Then I shall have you watch my Fairy Ingsu's tricks. One was a water general and the other was the ranked 100th and 7th star general. Fairy Ingsu truly did not fear them, and she even already had the thoughts to make these legendary star maidens suffer. Fairy Ingsu formed the orchid hand seal, activating her powers. A black staff appeared. Black staff shadows filled the skies with an eerie whoosh, rolling towards Shi Yuan and Zhang Yuqi. Then, after it spouted thick, multicolored gas, the pouring calamity bottle gourd suddenly swelled. The spray became a large human skull, which opened its mouth as wide as a basket. Its white teeth glinted with a sharp, clear light. Seeing this, even a diamond would be chomped to pieces. That skull's enormous mouth opened and closed, emitting every sort of multicolored fog. Then, she pointed, and her flying swords became 100 extremely fine multicolored lights that sunk into the staff shadows and poison fog. They silently shot towards the 2 girls. Zhang Yuqi and Shi Yuan did not dare be careless. They circulated their star energy at full power as defense. Fish intestine. Zhang Yuqi giggled and extended a hand. Clang. There was a sound that was as if a divine sword had unsheathed. A blue light that filled the skies rolled towards those pervasive staff shadows and that enormous multicolored skull. Its power completely covered the staff shadows and the pouring calamity bottle gourd. This fish intestine sword, too, was a heavenly spirit astral treasure that Tang Lianxin had specially forged for Zhang Yuqi. Let alone that Tang Lianxin's reclusiveness made people forget she existed, the girl's thoughts had always been sharp. The first time she saw a white stripe in the waves, she vaguely knew something. Afterwards, she used her free time to forge this fish intestine sword from materials that Shi Yuan and Wu Xinjie brought back. By damage star Zhang Yuqi's status as a water general, the other factors of danger for her in combat were not small compared to the thief stars. It was because of this that Tang Lianxin would specially forge the sword, and Zhang Yuqi was very clear about that. The palace's flying swords warped and weft. That top-notch jade that was crafted into the walls was gouged deeply by the fish intestine sword qi, 1,000 cuts and 100 holes. As if 10,000 swords had attacked, yet also as if the 9th firmament had crumbled. The sword light's twinkles were like stars, extremely quick, as if they were only flashes. Every place inside the palace had a sword light, containing Fairy Ingsu's power within. The fish intestine sword was forged using black turtle divine iron and a prehistoric fish obtained from the connecting heaven ancient tomb. Its speed was quick as lightning. Regardless of whether it was in water or in poison fog, that it would not suffer any effects was the fish intestine sword's greatest characteristic, but its weakness was that it required lots of star energy. Furthermore, its usage time was not very long. It would be destroyed after use, and afterwards, it would require water to nurture. Zhang Yuqi hated to part with the fish intestine that Tang Lianxin refined, however, there was no other way now. Fairy Yingsu's myriad powers were so fierce, if she hesitated further, perhaps even a pretty face like hers would be broken. Crush. The black staff magic weapon was brushed by a lightning bolt, splitting into two halves and falling to the ground with a kacha. The giant skull the pouring calamity bottle gourd had sprayed was also twisted to pieces by the sword light, becoming a slightly dark must and disappearing into the air. Fairy Yingsu's 100 flying swords were all knocked aside one after the other by the fish intestine sword. Forged from black turtle divine iron, Fairy Yingsu's flying swords were completely unable to move fish intestine. Shi Yuan watched dumbstruck, endlessly elated. She never expected the fish intestine sword to be so formidable. In the future, she definitely had to have elder sister forge one for her. Shi Yuan itched for her own. Meanwhile, Fairy Yingsu's surroundings suddenly erupted with a murky and viscous red blood fog. She enshrouded herself within, her droning voice coming from within the fog. Never expected you to have even this level of magic weapon. The fish intestine sword's sword light unstably twisted towards Fairy Yingsu's surroundings, attacking her protective blood fog into pieces, but Fairy Yingsu's magic energy was profound. Her abilities were also strange. In short, just when they could kill Fairy Yingsu, they were stopped by a screen of poison fog. Shi Yuan seized this chance to send a puppet to take the longevity steal. The fish intestine sword's light rampaged for a while. Finally, it could no longer continue. This fish intestine sword had been somewhat forged in a rush for the longevity palace before it could be truly completed. Very quickly, it lost its sword light. The palace suddenly dimmed, and the entire sea of light created by the sword chi vanished without a trace. Suddenly, a thin blue light emitted from some unknown place, seizing this chance to shoot towards Zhang Yuqi. This blue light was oddly swift beyond compare, instantly reaching right in front of Zhang Yuqi's chest. Shi Yuan was startled. Her figure swayed, and she used a wind-chasing shadow hiding. "Look out!" She pounced slash. "What are you doing?" Zhang Yuqi had never expected Shi Yuan would surprisingly protect her. The thief star's concealment art was extremely quick, blocking with her hoodwinking flying claws at lightning-fast speed, but that blue light flashed, slipping past the claws and biting into Shi Yuan's shoulder. It hurt enough to pale the thief star's face, but she clearly let Zhang Yuqi escape a disaster. "Using your body as a shield? You truly are close as sisters." Fairy Yingsu was even more envious. Su Xing said we need to care for each other. This young lady only feels she must follow Su Xing. This young lady learned this from Su Xing. Shi Yuan was stubborn. This truly made Yuqi speechless. Zhang Yuqi truly was tongue-tied. Stupid, how can there be a logic of Star Master taking a blow for the Star General? This is truly ridiculous. Fairy Yingsu waved her hand, destroying several of the annoying puppets. "How could an ugly woman like you understand?" Shi Yuan pointed, and she released several puppets to guard the longevity steel. Zhang Yuqi's white water mirror heart used all rivers reach seas, and the fish intestine sword returned radiantly, becoming a sword light that slashed towards Fairy Yingsu's chest. Fairy Yingsu roared, and a bloody seal the size of a shield appeared in front of her body. Clang, clang. Metallic ringing sounds ringed throughout the entire palace. These were the sounds of the fish intestine sword and Fairy Yingsu's magic weapons clashing. A stream of sparks burst like fireworks from the impacts. "Can you block this blood spider seal?" Fairy Yingsu sneered. The blood spider seal was constructed from a piece of crimson jade left behind from antiquity. It was soaked in a highly toxic sea of blood for a full 18 months. In the case, a cultivator was touched by the blood spider seal, their essence blood would be sucked dry in a short time. This was Fairy Yingsu's most powerful magic weapon. When Zhang Yuqi saw that Fairy Yingsu was going all out, she hastily formed a hand seal in secret. The fish intestine sword swung, blue light radiating, resolutely obstructing the blood light of the blood spider seal. Turning around, it whirled back and forth. Fairy Yingsu was angry at herself for being pinned by two star generals that were without any martial force to speak of. She had the idea to quickly end the battle. Now, she caught sight of that blue light about to come back. Fairy Yingsu feared there was some other trick. How could she let it run off? Since the blood spider seal had appeared, it was too regretful for it to not suck in the essence blood of some star generals. Chi! A multicolored poison sprayed out. The blood spider seal became a bloody shadow, surprisingly flying forth. It instantly pursued to above the fish intestine, manifesting a giant bloody spider, ruthlessly grabbing downwards. This blood spider seal was a full 3 zhang in size, its whole body covered in bloodlight. Its blood vessel-like markings vaguely had fine talisman script moving about. Ding-dang. 3. The fish intestine sword manifested the shadow of a prehistoric fish that was as long as a knife. This fish's blue light glowed, and the blood spider seal's bloody spider's bloodlight descended, rolling like layers of silk over the fish. The fish struggled endlessly, its knife point sharply cutting apart the rolling blood web. Zhang Yuqi continuously formed hand seals, imbuing her star energy into the fish intestine saber, dueling against Fairy Yingsu. Yuqi, I'll come help you. Shi Yuan saw the two were deadlocked, suddenly shouting. The thief star dares to boast in front of this immortal, why not just give up? Fairy Yingsu sinisterly smiled. Her thin as a baby's voice revealed a sharp malevolence. There was another shriek. Using a hand to point, the 100 multicolored flying swords glowed even brighter. Rainbow smoke diffused, illuminating the palace in incomparably enchanting colors. The sword light revolved under Fairy Yingsu's hand seals, launching, swifter than lightning. Instantly, it became 5 beautiful streams of sword light that were 10 times thicker, with a length of several dozen zhang. The front end was like a hook, as if it was the demonic talon of a bird. When it grabbed at Shi Yuan's head, it was powerful, fierce, and evil. A howling wind that broke the air and earth was very strange, releasing a sobbing sound, heart-rending. Immediately afterwards, demonic shadows floated on all sides. The flying swords released an extremely fragrant scent, one that made a person's limbs turn numb, their magic energy disappear. This was the flying sword array, poppy sword array. The sword light instantly attacked Shi Yuan. The 2 supercluster stage puppets that Shi Yuan had released were too late to brandish their ferocity and were incapacitated by the smoke, falling limp. Then the sword light moved, and the 2 supercluster puppets surprisingly disintegrated like this. Shi Yuan's jaw dropped when she saw this. Fairy Yingsu smiled complacently. Her flying sword array was far unlike the Azure Dragon Territory's sword arrays. The poppy sword array used every sort of poison in its refinement. The sword light let out a sweet scent. If someone were to smell it, all of their meridians and pores would be completely sealed. Even if a puppet did not have the 5 senses, this poppy sword array's odd scent could even bewitch the soul. The 2 supercluster early stage puppets naturally could not withstand it. The puppets broke, the flying swords twisted, about to attack Shi Yuan. Shi Yuan. Zhang Yuqi saw that Shi Yuan was in big trouble. Without even thinking, her divine intent moved. The fish intestine sword no longer cared for the blood spider seal and flew over. Rip. A ray of blue light seemed to be ripped apart by lightning. A crystalline sword light of unknown length slammed into the poppy sword array head-on. The fish intestine sword's blue light magnified, and it poured down half a sea's worth of water to block the multicolored poison smoke sword array. The poison smoke and blue light struggled against each other, rumbling. The fish intestine sword broke in half, and the poppy sword array was struck apart. You slut, you are courting death. Fairy Yingsu cursed. Her hand then pointed. The blood spider seal's bloodlight was glaring. the huge blood spider bit. Without the support of the fish intestine sword, Zhang Yuqi could only raise the 4-star white water mirror heart for protection, but this blood spider seal's blood light rolled endless. The blood spider seal ferociously pounded, its power directly piercing through Zhang Yuqi's body. The girl was unable to bear it and vomited a mouthful of blood. Her blood sprayed and was ravenously devoured by the blood spider seal. The blood spider seal sucked in Zhang Yuqi's essence blood. Its blood light was even more full, and an enormous blood spider phantom manifested sinisterly. Hey! The hoodwinking flying claws seized the blood spider seal with difficulty. Shi Yuan flashed to the front of Zhang Yuqi. To be saved by you is truly annoying. Shi Yuan puffed her cheeks. Zhang Yuqi wanted to laugh. Her chest hurt, and then she spat out more blood. You all right? Shi Yuan said, worried. The hoodwinking flying claws did not neglect to hold tight the blood spider seal. Zhang Yuqi endured the taste in her mouth and nodded. Fairy Yingsu descended before them, enviously contorting. Relying on just the two of you to stop me, today, this immortal shall have the blood spider seal properly taste the blood of star generals. Although the flying swords were damaged by the fish intestine sword, this blood spider seal was increasingly plump after tasting Zhang Yuqi's blood. The bloodlight was pretty, and blood-colored lotus flowers bloomed in succession, displaying an unordinary profundity. The spider-like bloodlight rolled downwards. Zhang Yuqi saw Shi Yuan was already very weak. She endured her injuries to use white water mirror heart, adding it in. Their combined powers faced the oppression of the blood spider seal. Fairy Yingsu continuously poured in magic energy. Seeing that Zhang Yuqi and Shi Yuan were both already arrows at the end of their paths, she could not help but grin. Die! Just at this moment, there was a sudden air-shattering noise. The newcomer's speed was extremely fast. Fairy Yingsu's protective bloodlight was nearly broken. The female cultivator's reactions were prompt, and she immediately turned around, fanning her sleeve and pulling away to a safe distance. The newcomer was an absolutely beautiful young woman. She wore revealing blue clothes, had a wonderful figure, and her eyes were full of a deep sorrow as if she had seen something pitiful. However, this sort of feeling only made Fairy Yingsu suddenly angry. Golden Wind Jade do double sabers. Another star general? Hunyangzi's gaze was emotionless. Before Fairy Yingsu could say anything, her pace unfolded like mist. Her double sabers already attacked without any hesitation. This slash was just like the misty rain of the Changjiang River. Spectacular, the golden light and green rays intertwined, and a scarlet blood red were torn apart. Bright Star Husanyang did not leave any room at all, with no gaps, no holes. The double sabers were like wild animals brandishing their fangs, yet also like the crescent moon among the stars. The frozen atmosphere was torn apart by the beautiful light, letting out a faint scream. The saber's edge that was nearly within reach attacked. However, compared to the terror of these double sabers, in Fairy Yingsu's twisted envy, what was even more glaring nevertheless was the calm flame in her counterpart's eyes. Those pure yet slightly distressed eyes recounted the unique beauty's grief. This revelation that even the heavens pities was like a frail yet sharp razor, making Fairy Yingsu even more twisted. Hey! Fairy Yingsu did not hesitate at all to strike with a palm. The girl's double sabers were very tyrannical. Clearly, she wanted to settle things with one strike, so how could Fairy Yingsu dare be careless? Fortunately, the blood spider seal had eaten its fill of a star general's blood and was now unexcelled. It drew an elegant trail of blood as it smashed its way over, slamming into the double sabers without any ceremony. With a bang, the palace shook. The blood spider's seal leaving greatly alleviated the pressure on Shi Yuan and Zhang Yuqi. The two girls wanted to go help, but they were obstructed by Fairy Yingsu's flying swords. Go take the longevity steel. Hunyangzi coldly said. We will trouble elder sister then. Shi Yuan endured her injuries. She used wind chasing shadow hiding and disappeared. As if. Fairy Yingsu was enraged. She used the pouring calamity bottle gourd to stop her. Mermaid Zhang Yuqi leapt in front of her, wearing a crafty grin, blinking her eyes that were bright as pearls. Yuchi certainly has to fulfill her obligations as a good elder sister. Saying this, the white water mirror heart used all rivers reach seas. An eddy of air immediately rolled in the multicolored poison fog. This young lady didn't ask you. Sure, Yuan grumbled. She still could not help but smile as she reached the longevity steel. Damn it. The previously prideful Ferrying Su was very unsightly at this moment. She completely did not anticipate that a star general with martial force would interfere, and that it would even be a martial general the likes of an earthly star 4 great heavenly kings. God damn it. Ferrying Su formed hand seals. The blood spider's seal spun in the sky, releasing an immense red furry jade spider. How could Ferrying Su sit and wait for death? She looked helplessly as the longevity steel fell into their hands. Hunyangzi disdainfully grunted, raising her eyebrows. The next moment, the blood spider's seal suddenly swelled. 8 spider legs like sharp razors unfolded, accompanied with a pouncing movement. Earth-shattering bloodlight shot out of the blood spider's seal, directly launching towards Hunyangzi. Bright star 10 feet of blue promptly stepped backwards, her double sabers tyrannical. Ferrying Su sneered. Her hand seals changed, and the blood shadow of the blood spider's seal also morphed. It suddenly appeared behind Hunyangzi, and this time, it broke through Hunyangzi's defenses without any slowdown. Even Hunyangzi was quite surprised. This immortal shall take your blood as well. Ferrying Su laughed aloud. The next instant, Hunyangzi's next action similarly made Ferrying Su unable to laugh anymore. Bright star 10 feet of blue used her magnificent footwork, dancing like smoke, her figure like a phantom. The next second, the person herself inconceivably broke away from the blood spider seal's smash. Then, Ferrying Su's eyes were blinded. Hunyangzi already arrived in front of her. Flying star magpie dance. So fast. Her superb judgment and skill immediately made the fairy Wangsu who had taken the initiative put on a sorry defense. Though lengthy in narration, this was but an instant. Golden wind and jade dew slashed like falling rain. The blade's tips crossed at speeds not visible to the naked eye. Fairy Ingsu's protective bloodlight magic weapon and powers endlessly were crumbled by the severe power of the blades. From time to time, the air would be carried by a sharp slash, and then it would immediately let out an intense ripping sound. Not only this, even the palace itself was rolled into the fierce battle, collapsing one after another. Luminous sparks and speed with afterimages dazzled the eyes. The ferrying Su in the middle of the saber shadows seemed to be bearing the weight of a mountain, unable to move an inch. So powerful. Ferrying Su promptly made a hand seal. The blood spider's seal hovered above her, flowing with a terrible bloodlight that was like a waterfall enveloping her. Hunyangzi did not give Ferrying Su any chance to breathe. After her dark technique, it was another flying star magpie dance. Endless and continuous. You are too savage. Ferrying Su venomously smiled. Suddenly, the bloodlight over her whole body abruptly transformed into a sword. The endless poison fog pervaded the entire palace, wrapping towards Hunyangzi under Ferrying Su's beckoning. Bright star Husanyang withdrew. Suddenly, her left hand waved and something appeared. But her eyes were obstructed by the bloodlight, so Ferrying Su did not see clearly. Just as she was about to kill Husanyang, suddenly at this moment, the bloodlight broke, layer after layer, and a red lasso flew towards her. Huh! Ferrying Su was surprised. She completely did not expect the bright star to have another star weapon. These feelings are endless lassos phantoms appeared. Instantly, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, numerous, as if weaving a net. Ferrying Su was too late to counter and was seized by these feelings are endless lasso. Hunyangzi's left hand pulled, and her right hand's saber closed in. Ferrying Su raised her head and screamed when she saw this. Golden and green light enveloped Hunyangzi. She slashed directly at the target. In the midst of the metallic sound of cutting through air, she shot into the surroundings a crackling sound that seemed to instantly freeze everything. Ferrying Su's scream lodged in her throat. Her mouth froze, And in that instant she was still wielding the blood spider seal like a weapon. That red lasso net trapped all of her movements. The air no longer flowed, and energy ceased transmission. These feelings our endless lasso released several hundred-odd red lights that were like specters that changed into rainbows, and even the wind involved had forgotten to stir. As if the river of time had forgotten to flow this instant. Dark rank lasso technique. Weaving feelings. Golden and green saber lights glared before Fairy Ingsu. Hunyangzi instantly was behind her. By the time Fairy Ingsu realized it, her contorted head was already rolling on the ground. The entire battle sequence was quick as lightning, passing in the blink of an eye. The head and body of the insufferably arrogant Fairy Ingsu thus were in different places. Hunyangzi's dark technique, weaving feelings, and her double saber technique so brilliant that even Zhang Yuqi stared in amazement. Shi Yuan clicked her tongue when she saw this. But Fairy Ingsu's death did not mean that the world was at peace. A shrill shriek. When the dual luo flower-marked python saw its master had died, it spread its multicolored fangs, flinging the urgent sea's white spirit python away. Then, the dual luo flower-marked python opened its maw to show a malevolent and sinister mouth. It nevertheless wanted to bite apart Hunyangzi to avenge its master. Hunyangzi coldly glanced at it. Her dance steps moved, and swaying, she already arrived in front of the dual luo flower-marked python. Golden Wind and Jade Dew made ready, prepared strike while the iron was hot, adding on several more wounds to this snake. The dual luo flower-marked python made an error in its reckoning of Hunyangzi's battle strength. The 5-star Golden Wind and Jade Dew easily tore apart its barrier of poison fog, cutting it up with wounds that dripped blood. The dual luo flower-marked python's horns let out a multicolored light that descended like a sword. Hunyangzi slashed it apart. Saber Chi directly stuck in, lacerating the dual luo flower-marked python's flesh. The next slash once again approached. This ancient strange beast dual luo flower-marked python knew it was in danger. Seeing the situation was unfavorable, it immediately soared upwards, dodging, pulling a certain distance away from Bright Star Hunyangzi. This ancient strange beast's reactions were actually quick. Bright Star Hunyangzi missed her chance to kill this dual luo flower-marked python. Her heart could not help but feel some slight regret, but this python was injured, and its strength was greatly debilitated. To slay it was actually not an impossible task. 10 feet of blue did not hesitate. Her foot stamped on the ground, and she soared up, rushing towards the dual luo flower-marked python. The dual luo flower-marked python stared squarely at Bright Star Hunyangzi. Its red and black eyes glowed, like radiant light in the night, the red and black scales covering its enormous body occasionally moving, bringing a howling gale. Its back had an enormous wound, as if it had been violently ripped open by a sort of powerful force. Blood flowed from the wound, dripping onto the ground, forming into puddles. The dual luo flower-marked python opened its jaws, spraying out a highly toxic multicolored poison fog. The poison fog covering everything alleviated its pain, but what was even more painful came after. The double sabers stabbed out a hurricane. A beautiful figure gracefully descended. The dual luo flower-marked python urgently flicked its long tongue. It itched to be able to slowly chew apart this woman that was even more evil than itself, to swallow her into its stomach. Now that its counterpart was about to rush in front of it, it suddenly twisted its body, flinging its enormous snake tail. Bright Star Hunyangzi heard a whoosh and a gale blew. Immediately afterwards, the rays of light above her dimmed, and a fierce power, like Mount Tai's weight, bore down on her. Husan Yang hastily lowered her body, afterwards dodging to the left. Boom! The dual luo flower-marked python's tail brushed past her body, heavily drawing out a large hole in the poison fog, curling the clouds and mist, the pervasive gas. It turned the air even more murky and sinister. Its strike did not land. The dual luo flower-marked python did not give Bright Star Hunyangzi any chance to catch her breath. It immediately began its second wave of attacks. It opened its mouth, and several dozen rays of poison smoke spewed out one after another, like tiny pythons hissing, baring their fangs as they pounced at Hunyangzi, terrifying. but they were completely unable to obstruct that wonderful blue figure. The dual luo flower-marked python sensed danger. It again thought to sweep its tail. This time, a white light rolled over ruthlessly, binding the dual luo flower-marked python. It was the Urgent Sea's white spirit python. This Urgent Sea's white spirit python was a powerful star beast, and it bit onto the dual luo flower-marked python's horns, spitting out a white light. When Hunyangzi saw, her silhouette flew and mounted the blood-sweat silver hair horse. Spurring it, she matched with the star beast's powerful charge to put the dual luo flower-marked python onto the verge of collapse, finally rushing past the ancient strange beast's defenses. Then, Hunyangzi's golden wind and jade dew double sabers twisted over the dual luo flower-marked python's body, cleaving it in two. A multicolored soul flew out, and was just about to be cut apart by Hunyangzi. "Elder sister, give it to me." Shi Yuan cried out in alarm when she saw this. Hunyangzi's blade stopped. Shi Yuan took out a jade bottle, and the dual luo flower-marked python's soul was sucked into the bottle. The thief star laughed out loud. "Too good, this young lady finally has this prehistoric 5 poisons beast. It seems this young lady's 5 poisons banner still has hope to become the 5 concealed banner." Following Fairy Yingsu's death and the destruction of the dual luo flower-marked python, the palace regained its calm. Zhang Yuqi looked displeased at the poison fog obscuring everything, so she used the white water mirror heart to wash it away. "Shi Yuan, do you have the longevity steel?" Zhang Yuqi asked. Shi Yuan woke from her daydreams of the prehistoric 5 concealed banner. She proudly waved her hand, and a small tablet appeared in her palm. This was the longevity steel of the 6th palace. Zhang Yuqi breathed a sigh of relief and wiped her sweat. This time truly was incomparably risky. Encountering the evil Fairy Yingsu, this female cultivator's powers honestly were outrageously outside of common sense. "Fortunately you came, Nyangzi." "Yes, why did Sister Nyangzi come here? Have you gotten the 7th palace's longevity steel?" Shi Yuan asked curiously. Hunyangzi nodded. In her palm appeared a longevity steel. Sister Nyangzi is truly amazing, to surprisingly obtain it so quickly. Shi Yuan said in admiration. In actuality, from Hunyangzi's perspective, this actually was very easy. She had also used weaving feelings on the supercluster cultivator she encountered at the 7th palace. Weaving her feelings, that cultivator and Fairy Yingsu both were flabbergasted, and Hunyangzi's body techniques were also extremely quick. Trapped like this, if those cultivators did not have life-preserving tricks, they naturally could not avoid Bright Star 10 feet of blue's flying star magpie dance. It had to be known that this 10 feet of blue title actually meant a viper who waited for its opportunity to strike. However, killing 2 supercluster peak ancestors in succession made Bright Star Hunyangzi feel very exhausted. Even if she had drank Tongtong's seemingly drunk and intoxicated, this made Hunyangzi already drained, too tired, but to take the longevity steel made everything worth it. Dear husband's location has some rainbow light anomaly. It seems there is a situation. We should hurry over. Hunyangzi said to her sisters. Zhang Yuqi and Shi Yuan nodded. The 3 girls promptly flew out of the palace. 7th palace. The Tai Sword Sect's ancestral master's corpse wordlessly lay alone on the ground. Its head had long rolled away. The surroundings were sprinkled with many pieces, and the aged face was full of shock. As far as the eye could see, there was an elevated platform. That place originally had placed a longevity steel, but it was now empty. Shi Yu and Zhang Feiyu rushed towards the bright moon longevity palace's 8th hall, and she herself was the sole star master. Although the longevity steel was so enticing, Wu Xinjie was still considerably relieved to leave this to them. However, the danger level of the 8th palace could be calculated even by the knowledge star in her wonderful plans and schemes. When Shi Yu and Zhang Feiyu reached the 8th palace, there was already a purple-skirted young lady already there first, marveling at the longevity steel. "Lady, that thing doesn't belong to you." Boatman Zhang Feiyu sneered. She raised the blazing Fish King saber and pounced. A dazzling fire dragon ignited, flung forth from the saber. The purple-skirted girl turned her head, sweetly smiled, and a magic weapon flew out to meet the flames. However, Zhang Feiyu's saber technique was powerfully exhibited, very tyrannical, recklessly twisting down. The young girl had no choice but to leap backwards, gently landing on the second level. Then could it be yours? The girl's smile was like a spring breeze. She was Humi of the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace. Seeing that she was surprisingly a super void stage great cultivator, how could Shiyu dare be careless? She secretly used sound transmission to have Zhang Feiyu steal the tablet. Then she beckoned and summoned her flying swords. Humi extended her hand and gently pointed. Purple flying swords simultaneously descended. The two girls' flying swords gathered in formation and attacked. Two kinds of sword light shuttled back and forth. Humi's flying swords manifested a purple smoke over themselves. In the air, their fast flight time nevertheless did not let out the slightest noise, as if they were as obscured as mist. This is... Shiyu immediately recognized the background of this sword chant. Purple Firmament 9 Palaces Filling Heaven Sword. The Purple Firmament 9 Palaces Filling Heaven Sword was the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace's soul sword chant. Shiyu had once learned of it when she stayed in the Azure Dragon territory. This sword's most wondrous aspect was that it could lay a 9 palaces execution immortal sword array. 2. And this Purple Firmament Immortal Palace had once produced an overlord. For this reason, all Star Masters specially remembered that if they were to encounter the Star Master of the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace, they absolutely were not to fall into the sword array. Do you still want to continue? Humi blinked. Shiyu had a sort of odd feeling. Although the young woman before her was super void cultivation, she was no older than herself. On the contrary, she had a sort of little sister pattern. Perhaps the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace had some secret techniques. Shiyu did not dare be careless. Shiyu ingested good fortune pills to bolster her cultivation, and in these days together with Su Xing, although she was somewhat smitten, none of her powers had fallen behind. On the contrary, she borrowed those all-inclusive beauties of Su Xing. Shiyu sought out Tang Lianxin to refine swords and Insuan to refine many pills. Her illusion reality flying swords were far more exquisite than before and were enhanced with Taiji Geng metal. 3. The flying swords gathered, turning a faint blue-green color, yet they also had a sort of translucent feel. During their flight, they did not have the slightest bit of burning qi. They were not inferior at all to the Purple Firmament 9 Palaces Filling Heaven sword. The two sword lights were about the same size. From time to time, they clashed in midair. Each impact exploded with an extremely severe gung metal qi in all directions. But every time these gung metal qi were about to shoot towards Humi's body, purple light flashed, and 9 thin as a cicada's wing palaces would appear in the space between, a gate of more than a zhang in length, and the inside smoke and clouds would be destroyed. Light flickered, twinkling endlessly. The moment the gung metal qi fell within the gate, it was like mud washed into the sea, disappearing without a trace. This was Humi's 9 palaces array. Humi's hand seals changed in succession. That sword light of purple smoke twisted, splitting to become more than 100 qi long lights that formed a net of purple light, firmly entangling those faint green translucent flying swords. No matter how hard Shiyu struggled, the flying swords could not budge in the slightest. Shiyu wiped her sweat and used illusion reality powers. Humi smiled. This elder sister had better give up. You are not my opponent. From but one exchange of flying swords, Shiyu immediately understood that the young girl in front of her was not jesting. Those flying swords honestly were far too strong compared to her own. Your servant will not fail, milord. Shiyu's expression changed. Milord. Humi was tongue-tied. Did she mishear? What do you address the purple thunder monster as? Humi stuck out her cute tongue. Her girlishness made Shiyu convinced that the young girl in front of her was younger than her, but to have super void cultivation at such a young age, all of Liangshan could not possibly have produced such a genius, unless... Shiyu's whole body shuddered. Instantly she felt chills. Unless she was a star master. The purple firmament immortal palace's super void stage star master. This was bad. "Milord, did you not hear clearly?" Shiyu broke into a cold sweat. She had once seen human evil inside the flower dragon cave, even nearly losing her life. Even after she had arrived in the Black Turtle territory and accidentally became a Star Master, she was far from training to be at peace with herself. Shiyu's eyes very quickly flashed with slight fear. Her divine intent loosened, and the supreme ultimate gung metal flying swords nearly broke. "Shiyu," Zhang Feiyu's alarmed voice made Shiyu steel herself. Humi still had an indifferent appearance. Seeing the boatman go break the longevity steel, she was neither rushed nor lax, neither warm nor angry. On the contrary, she was full of interest in gossiping and asked, "You surprisingly call the purple thunder monster, milord. Could you be husband and wife? Could it be your servant is not?" Shiyu answered back sarcastically. "This is truly outside of expectations." Humi was pensive. Shiyu saw that there was still a young and naive nature in the heart of the girl in front of her. This was perfect to exploit. Therefore, she said, "Your servant has never heard of the purple firmament immortal palace. Why do you meddle in this? Milord has not offended you at all." "Master's orders. Little sis has no choice." Humi blinked, slightly smiling. "Little sis wishes to ask this elder sister. Your servant is Shiyu." Little sis' name is Humi. Little sis is very perplexed. The purple thunder monster surprisingly has so many top-notch star generals following him. May little sis be so bold as to ask elder sister Shiyu just what is the meaning of this? Humi curiously asked. Shiyu had just thought of saying that they wholeheartedly admired milord, but she realized saying this was somewhat inappropriate. Thus, she changed her words. "Milord naturally was sent by Maiden Mountain. The 9 generations of star duels are regarded as a cycle, and this 9th generation is the time for the star duels to end." "What?" Humi was stunned, honestly thinking she was being deceived. "Sent by Maiden Mountain? Does elder sister feel little sis is so easy to fool?" Humi was not convinced. "You are right that Liangshan continent regards 9 as the world, but Maiden Mountain would never send a star master. This is rather too irregular." "Then what does little sister feel this means?" Milord unexpectedly was able to obtain Wu Song, Lin Chong, Yan Qing, Gong Sun Sheng and even Chai Jin's accompaniment? Shiyu aspect. Humi wrinkled her brow. Since elder sister is not willing to speak the true reason, then there is no other way. Saying this, Humi hovered into the air, suddenly letting out a supervoid-like might. Shiyu was no more than supercluster middle stage. How could she bear this? Very quickly, her hands and feet stiffened. This is bad. This girl looks innocent, but she is in fact not easy to trick. As expected, the purple firmament immortal palace was not so simple. Humi smiled. The flying sword's gale descended. Shiyu was without a choice, striking hand seals and activating a magic weapon. This banner suddenly grew in size, firing spirit light that enshrouded Shiyu within. Heaven-departing spirit distribution banner, surprisingly a prehistoric magic weapon. Humi recognized that this treasure was a considerably powerful defensive magic weapon. Even her super void stage flying swords were helpless against it. Humi shook her banner. Spirit light rippled and struck Shiyu's flying swords, entangling even Humi's own flying swords at the same time. Although this would waste much of her star energy, Shiyu was very clear that she was completely not this young girl's opponent. The sole thing she could do was to exploit her star general advantage when the young girl had not summoned her own star general and was overconfident to kill her while she was unprepared. This was the sole thing that Shiyu could do. Boatman Zhang Feiyu sensed Shiyu's resolution and inwardly nodded, suddenly soaring as she broke the longevity steel's forbid dance. Grasping the blazing fish king saber, she slashed at Humi. With a star general's power, Super Void early stage was not considered too big of a trouble. But how could Humi's prior efficient and direct action be arrogant? The girl slightly smiled, also releasing magic weapon for protection. Is there any use? Zhang Feiyu sneered. Her saber slashed. The blazing fish king saber's flames fluttered in clumps, igniting saber light around Zhang Feiyu that filled the skies like a burning flower bud. These flower buds gathered to attack Humi under Zhang Feiyu's divine intent. Dark technique. Fire tree silver flower. Just at this moment, a golden light flew out, directly descending. Hearing the impact of the weapon, sparks showered in all directions. Zhang Feiyu's smile suddenly disappeared. A weapon of glittering gold light appeared that blocked Balanced Star Boatman's dark technique. The dispersed flaming saber slammed into that target, producing an explosion. Zhang Feiyu continuously withdrew, showing an expression of shock. This is, elder sister Shiyu, it would be better if we might as well star duel. Humi facetiously cocked her head. She pointed a white finger, issuing a challenge. Shiyu's expression was cold to the extreme. The worst-case scenario had happened. Explosions dispersed. In front of Purple Firmament Fairy Humi, there was already another young woman. This maiden appeared gorgeous as a flower. She wore a light blue muslin shirt, was draped in goosefeather-patterned golden armor, and had a cloak of white silk. A faint breeze blew by, giving her the sort of feeling of a fluttering immortal. Her black hair spilled across her shoulders, outlining her gentle beauty that was without even a bit of makeup. The young girl wore a sky-soaring golden cap, phoenix shoes, and her face had an indolent expression, an absent-minded gaze. She appeared frivolous, even giddy, but that expression's depths concealed a chilling murderous intent. She was like Humi, under her lovely exterior was very deep perception. However, what made Shiyu even more stifled was the star crest on the young girl's forehead. As expected, a star general. Star master. Shiyu tightly pursed her lips, a very unsightly expression. Elder sister Shiyu has actually already guessed it, correct? Humi slight smiled, seeing through her with a glance. That young girl held a weapon of glittering gold light, but even without looking, Shiyu could guess the position of that star general. The Purple Firmament Immortal Palace once produced a star master that contracted with the ranked 18th Guardian star Su Ning. 2? Can it be? Humi replied. It would be better if elder sister Shiyu and little sis make a mutually beneficial exchange. What? Shiyu was caught completely off guard. For Humi to speak of a deal right now was surprising. Elder sister Shiyu and little sis shall cooperate. Tell little sis everything about the purple thunder monster, and little sis will not trouble elder sister. Shiyu jeered, why should your servant agree? Elder sister Shiyu is truly unwilling to even feign civility. Humi smiled. How regrettable. Enough nonsense. I, Feiyu, shall come teach you a lesson. Hiding your star weapon in golden light, today, elder sister shall skin you clean and see just who you are. Zhang Feiyu shouted in her hoodlum style. She took several steps forward, springing forth and slashing. Jing Shu, then star duel with this little sister. Humi calmly ordered. As you command. Jing Shu's indolent expression swept. Suddenly she lifted her head. Those frivolous eyes suddenly flashed with light, a glint that made people unable to see clearly. The golden light glared. Metallic ringing and sparks suddenly filled the air. What kind of terrifying speed was this? Jing Shu already swept her lance towards Zhang Feiyu, and Zhang Feiyu's heart was overwhelmed with shock at the same time. Her reactions were incomparably quick. As a dual martial and magic star general, her close combat martial force was a bit lacking. Her hands crossed to block, pouncing head-on into the bone-chilling presence. Is that it? Jing Shu said, making Zhang Feiyu feel as if her skin had been peeled. This bastard was a frightening heavenly star. Jing Shu lowered her shoulders, swept her jade arms, and her lance flashed with an odd pattern and an eerie golden light. A powerful force proliferated, but with a shudder, it was a wave-like killing intent. The Jing Shu in front of her was clearly very strong. Her attacks were carried out at an extremely high level, but Zhang Feiyu was not willing to concede defeat. Facing Jing Shu appeared simple. In reality, her tyrannical assault was being suppressed. Both sides exchanged blows for several bouts and then retreated, a slight sampling of their positions. Balanced Star Boatman Zhang Heng. This general is somewhat unable to become interested. Jing Shu made a lazy yawn, making Shiyu speechless. Zhang Feiyu laughed and then narrowed her eyes, lewdly saying, "Elder sister will make you die from excitement." She raised her saber, running her finger along its flat side. Light glinted, and the mirror-like surface reflected Zhang Feiyu's sharp pupils. Billowing flames ignited on the saber, starting to slowly form into a leaping fish. Jing Shu pretended she did not hear. She grabbed her lance in one hand, a very dull expression. "Right now, let elder sister give you pleasure." Zhang Feiyu's voice was unsympathetic, slowly passing by, a sort of pressure that covered everything. Jing Shu's brows rose. Her heart unexpectedly had a vague nervous or excited mood. Seriously? This general truly seems to have not been pleasured in a long time. The girl cocked her head, earnestly thinking over Zhang Feiyu's words. The boatman cursed to herself. Was this woman an idiot? Was her provocation completely ineffective? It seemed this was a formidable opponent. However, just as she was about to experience it, like a demon's long laugh, Zhang Feiyu brandished the flaming Fish King saber. Instantly, with her as the center, the flaming Fish King saber's fire expanded in a split second, swelled, and an insufferably arrogant blaze roared towards Jing Shu. "Take this!" Zhang Feiyu coldly shouted. Just like a declaration of death, she acted without any mercy. Jing Shu closed one eye, an apparently careless appearance, yet the corner of her lips could not help but slightly curl. She raised her divine weapon, imparting her power without the slightest hesitation, flowing with resonance. A golden light emerged, unleashing an incorporeal defense. Even though Jing Shu used a full power defense, but she still unavoidably took a step back. Zhang Feiyu's frantic blazing Fish King saber slammed over. Those forces invisible to the eyes were like a tsunami, tearing everything along the sides to shreds. Even the palace showed signs of breaking in half. The berserk flames rampantly struck Jing Shu and lifted an air current. "Oh wow, this little sister is very fierce." Jing Shu turned her defense. Each attack made her feel a sort of heavy pressure, and the corner of lips curled slightly even further. Her body could not help but involuntarily step back, and then, she continuously slid backwards. Bang! The flame's continuous attack had already nearly encircled Jing Shu, engulfing her. Gritting her teeth, she put strength to her legs. A golden light roared out. The fierce power was like a tsunami, instantly extinguishing the flames. Jing Shu finally launched her fatal attack. Jing Shu's extremely fast charge broke through Zhang Feiyu's flaming saber technique, and her figure was already in front of her in an instant. This swiftness made Zhang Feiyu feel grave, but the boatman did not stay still at all. Yellow technique, fish dragon roaming fire. Boatman Zhang Feiyu shouted, slashing the flaming Fish King saber. A surging flame burned out of the blade's edge. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.